So good afternoon. 100 MCQs. वैसे तो we have discussed a lot of content throughout the year, including topics, including special sessions on trade groupings, energy economics. Now what exactly to expect from this session and what I will be doing is that I'll just give you a brief overview of certain MCQs which our content team has prepared that we think are going to turn up in the exam. So how exactly to go about these questions? Some of those questions which are quite direct, which certain problems which you will face in solving is not that you don't know the facts, is that during the exam environment, how to deal with those things. And the second type of questions would be if we don't know the exact fact, we don't know the exact concept, how do we solve them? And third is we don't know anything exactly. There's complete blind information, no information on the topic. Should we attempt those questions or not? So this is more of a strategy on solving MCQs and what to expect from the MCQs. This is what I'll give you in these 50-60 questions today, and also probably one more session for Indian economy. This is mostly macroeconomics. To just give you an idea how to solve questions, again, not a lot of new information you're going to find, so you don't have to worry about कि ये नहीं पढ़ा और ये नहीं आता है. So that should not be a problem. You just see the strategy of how to do it. In fact, I'll tell you what the basic strategy of solving test papers and expecting things from test papers should be. Now for any particular topic, for any particular subject, there are actually 3 stages. The first stage is when you try to understand how much you know of the subject. In this, when you practice MCQs, you have to check 2 things. Whether your understanding was correct or not, and whether you were able to actively recall the concept. These are the 2 things which have to be tested in stage 1. PYQs is what is preceding the stage 1. Why? Because PYQs help us understand the topics, help us understand the themes, which keep our sources relevant. This is what the relevance of the PYQ is. Now, once you have this, this is the starting stage of preparation. Once you have this, you read the source, you form an understanding. The second stage is you test your understanding. That is first stage where we solve sectional test. From this sectional test, we check ourselves. This is right now a verdict on how much you've understood and how much you've revised. So that means the first stage of MCQ is to check your understanding and recall. This is where you get to know whether you were right on concepts and whether you're able to recall the facts. In fact, recall is required in the concepts as well. So both understanding and recall is important for both concepts and facts which were there in your sources. This is the first stage of your MCQ preparation. The second stage of testing is where we practice MCQs which are mostly full length test, and I'm talking about the Abhyas also. Any full length you're practicing. This MCQ is not actually a test of your understanding or recall. This is mostly a test of your application of whatever you've learned. That means I don't know the exact question. See, there were 3 types of things. One, the source has given you the exact thing. This is where you should not go wrong. Second is, I have applied a logic. This logic is an educated guess based on whatever I've learned from the source. And third is, I manufacture a logic in the exam environment itself. The FLTs and even the Abhyas, which is also an FLT, is primarily to develop this activity. This is to check how much logics you've created which are educated guess on based on the information you collect. And second, if you are manufacturing logic, that is, this is a complete guesswork which you are doing. It is not an educated guess, this is a complete gamble. So how many questions require that gamble and how many questions could be solved through this is what is the test of FLTs. We don't test ourselves कि ये शायद relevant नहीं था, just monetary policy is not coming, fiscal policy is not coming. At the end of the day, you have to expose yourself to the maximum information possible from these test papers so that before the exam you are in a position to solve it. You don't have to always test yourself of your understanding and also recall. That is done. This is something which is done. So for example, if you started your preparation in January, this stage should have been over by March. March onwards, April and May, this stage is where you get yourself exposed to the information. So at the end of the day, before we reach the exam, we have three things ready. I have my source, plus I have learned from the paper. And when I say learn from the paper, there are a lot of new facts which you learn, which are actually going to help you make educated guesses right in the exam. Because in the exam, when you finally give the prelims, you will need all the three things again. You will have certain things which are direct from source. You will have certain things which are educated guesses. And the third would be, there would be some complete guesswork, which is a gamble. So in order to improve this, this was done in first stage. This is done in second stage, and I'm actually exposing myself to the maximum information possible so that your educated guesses give you that confidence in the exam. This is what is to be done in the second stage. Problem that happens in the last 2 months is everybody is expecting to solve those questions which they've already learned. They are only trying to build confidence by doing the same things over and over. When you're doing same things over and over, prelims, you're not getting the diversity of new information which can help you form educated guesses there. Just because I want to feel comfortable with my source, I do the same questions again, or I go to the PYQs. This is again a sense of comfort, which might not give a lot of confidence in the exam when you actually get difficult questions coming from diverse sources. UPSC in prelims definitely have this diversity problem, where they can move beyond conventional topics, and even in topics which they've been often asking, they are asking new facts. This will always happen in the exam because the syllabus has not changed post 2012, and if I'm asking same topics, I will have to bring in new facts, I'll have to bring in new options, how to make those options or how to bring in facts. So I have to feel uncomfortable in the second stage. I have to develop this ability. So I'm exposing myself to new information because then it expands my information base, which then helps me solve these questions here. So even when these 50 questions I'm giving, I can give you so many questions in economics. You don't have to worry that I did not have it in my source. Now, should I read the entire source completely or should I change my source or not? You don't have to do anything. There's a lot of learning which happens from the paper itself. So primarily for say FLTs or even Abhyas, you should not calculate your marks. You should just see how much new things you've learned. You should just see how much source-based questions you were able to solve. The new things which you learn are expanding the base, which can then be used in the exam environment. The more you expand that base, the better you are in a position to make these educated guesses. Hamara fight yahan se yahan pahunchne ka hai. And when you are in this particular fight, that means you have to expose yourself to the maximum information possible. Information from sources is not a good cost-benefit analysis, or the cost-benefit is poor. Information from test is what helps us, so that we are able to work more on this. You don't have to worry that this exam or this test is relevant or not. Forget relevancy. Just keep on adding your information base so that you are able to solve it in the exam. What is relevant or not, you have already done a lot of this. Sectional test has already given you that base. Your sources after doing this or doing this has been expanded to a level which you can't now increase. You can revise more, but you can't increase the sources because you read more. The facts are, whatever you get those facts, that's too much time taking. So it's better that the sources are presented through the test so that you are not actually reading a book for it. You're actually not reading the newspaper for 1 year for it. You're now actually reading the economic survey for it. So preparation through test is what is the goal. In the last 10 days also, the preparation has to be focused here, where you are learning these new facts from the paper. You revise them, whatever you have learned, and this revision is something which helps you move from a random guess to an educated guess. Exam wants you to be tested on these new facts. If the fact I'm asking you who's the RBI governor or who's the prime minister of the country, everybody is solving that question. It's a competition which is a qualification. So I will have to do this in order to test on new facts. This is what the strategy has to be, the same strategy on these 50 questions also. Whatever 50, 60. I hope the strategy is clear. I want to solve 50 questions. I hope this is clear. Same I'm going to do with the 50, which we have prepared based on the previous year patterns and also based on certain topics which we think are important. Again, this is type of a practice. See the strategy, practice the strategy, add to your information base so that you can revise, and before the exam you're prepared. Don't worry ke हमें अपने आप को test करना है. Testing stage was this. This is not a testing stage post the first. It is all a application stage. An application stage exposes with you with new information that is all the more beneficial, so that before the exam I have maximum. I don't have to face a problem in the exam. Secondly, don't worry about having more information, because information kuch yaad nahi karna hai. There's no rote memory here. You just have to know things because the answer will be in front. You just have to pick the right answer. We just have to move from a random guess to an educated guess. You don't have to remember anything verbatim. That is already written in the paper for you. You just have to pick the options. With these questions, I'll tell you how exactly this exact thing has to be practiced. Now coming to the questions. One more thing about practicing these questions or getting information is how accustomed you are to the language, and in the exam environment you're able to mark it correctly or not. First, with reference to gross domestic product, consider the following statement. It measures the total monetary value of final goods and services produced by all resident nationals of an economy. Its computation includes the income earned by foreign nationals working within the country. It is published in India by the Ministry of Stats and Program Implementation through the National Statistical Office. Now what's the answer here? This type of a question, the strategy in the exam could be, now this is a very basic question, directly mark the answer in the OMR. Do not wait that I'm going to revisit again. Do not wait that I'll have last 10 minutes for the OMR. In the last 3 to 4 years, what we have seen is the paper has become very lengthy. And if the paper has lengthy, the basic questions which are asked in the exam should not be revisited again. The basic questions have to be marked with full confidence that this is the answer and you're not going to revisit. Revisit is going to happen in some cases where you have 10% with 2 options a problem. That you have to take a guess. Otherwise, revisiting these questions absolutely makes no sense, consumes a lot of time. Why the first statement is not correct? Because it's saying GDP, it's the total monetary value of final goods and services, but it is talking about produced by all resident nationals of an economy. It's not just the resident nationals. The concept of GDP is actually a territorial concept, and it is not a resident or a national concept. And when we say territory, what do we mean by territory? What all is included in territory? First, it is talking about the political boundary extendable to 12 nautical miles. Then it is including the territorial enclaves which you have in rest of the world, and the rest of the world enclaves in your country will be removed. This includes military bases, this includes scientific bases, and this includes embassies. The third type is the aircrafts and ships which are operated by your residents outside your territory, and oil wells, natural gas rigs that exist in international waters. These are the 4 things that are included in territory, which then included in the GDP. Resident here means 2 things. Though resident is a GNP concept, it includes the citizens which are residing in your country plus the non-citizens which have stayed for more than 1 year and have an economic interest in that territory. This is what is the meaning of resident, though this is not relevant for this question. But this is the revision of a basic concept. You mark the first statement wrong, you don't even read the next 2. Eliminate 1 and mark 2 and 3 and mark it in the OMR. This is very critical in solving such questions where you know for sure that 1 is wrong. Don't waste your time and effort in understanding next 2. Because if you find a certain inconsistency, confident option pay will go wrong. So where here you are confident and you know it's completely wrong, don't even read the next 2. We read the next 2 when we are practicing so that we have more facts. But when we are in the exam, we don't have to read anything. Just mark it in the OMR and move to the next question. Because the moment you read the next 2 questions, your brain will somehow be programmed कि शायद UPSC सही है, हम ही गलत है. Because there's a lot of anxiety. 1-day exam, this has a problem. 1-day exams, when you prepare for 1 or 2 years, there's too much performance pressure. We tend to have self-doubt. We tend to give examiner the benefit of doubt, which you actually don't do when you sit in the home. In the exam, we tend to do that, so you don't have to spend time and effort in reading the statement also. Answer here would be 2 and 3. Yes, foreign nationals are counted because we are counting the territory, and it is done by NSO under MOSPI. With reference to the National Statistical Office, NSO, it functions under Ministry of Stats and Program Implementation as the apex statistical agency. It was created by merging Central Statistical Office and the Indian Statistical Institute. The Chief Statistician of India serves as the head of National Statistical Office. Now, this is institution based on Indian economy. Let us assume you don't have any information about what the NSO is. Let's see what information we have actually from our preparation and how we can solve this question. You know there are some indices which the government comes out with certain reports. For example, you would heard of CPI. Now CPI is produced by whom? This is something should be known, should be in your preparation, even GDP numbers. We know there's a body which is Central Statistical Organization. These are the bodies which used to compute most of the numbers. Then there are other surveys, say for example, Consumption Expenditure Survey. The National Consumption Expenditure Survey used to be conducted by a body called the National Sample Survey Organization. 2017, the government found out some problems with the National Consumption Expenditure Survey and said that NSSO is not being performing its role better. So they merged the two bodies and created a National Statistical Organization, which works under Ministry of Stats and Program Implementation, and the regulator for this is the National Statistical Commission. This NSC, NSO is something which you will find a lot of references in the newspaper. This type of a question is solved by regular reading the newspapers. You don't have a particular conventional source to read these bodies. How do you solve this? Question is asking about statistical office, and it is saying merging office with the Indian Statistical Institute, which is an educational institute. This is where this could have been eliminated. Works here, 1 and 3. Even if you read the 3, you would find again, this is not a random guess. This is an educated guess on basically reading the newspaper, because this particular survey has been talked about most in the last 2 years. Most of our analysis in economics come from Consumption Expenditure Survey, which is done by NSSO. CSO or NSSO was merged in 17 under NSO. So one body which we always hear is NSO. In fact, it's a related body bhi hai. That is a NGO, or what you can say is a non-for-profit private firm. It is not a government body. This is which also conducts a lot of calculation of data. I'm forgetting the name. They also do something similar to NSO. I'll give you the name, I'll just recall. This NSO I hope is clear. Uska bhi similar data aata hai, and a lot of newspaper opinion write that on based on the numbers given by them. Which one of the following best describes the relationship between nominal GDP, real GDP and GDP deflator? This is an important concept. The 2022-23 repeatedly this has been asked in the CDS exam, and also the deflator were made certain changes this year while changing the methodology of GDP. Now what's the relationship between these three? Real GDP equals nominal GDP minus consumer price inflation. Nominal GDP is always greater than real GDP because population increases monetary aggregates. Deflator equals nominal GDP divided by real multiplied by 100. GDP deflator is computed using a fixed basket of goods. Whenever we have nominal GDP in the economy, this is quantity and price which are in the present current year. And we have to move to quantity and price which are constant. This is what is real GDP. How do we move from nominal to real GDP? This is what was done in GDP methodology change. They said nominal GDP to real GDP is done through a single deflation method, where we used mostly the WPI and very less goods or very less sectors were used to CPI. Now we are moving from nominal GDP to real GDP through a double deflation method, where we have a range of indicators which we do. Once we move from nominal to real, we try to understand the price ratio between the present and the constant year. The similar thing, this if I calculate in 25, I will calculate the deflator in 24 also. 24 to 25 helps me understand what is the inflation on GDP deflator. So what I'm saying is present year price to a constant price, 24 price to a constant price. Difference between the two is what is the inflation. This is multiplied by 100. This is how inflation is measured through GDP deflator. 2-3 things which you should know about deflator along with CPI, WPI. CPI and WPI are both constructed indices which only cover a constant basket. We changed the basket for CPI recently. The constant basket which also includes imports. Why? Because we want to see price changes in this particular basket. So we are also including imports. How it is different from deflator? When it is talking about nominal and real GDP, it has already removed the imports and the basket keeps on changing. How the basket is current? Because this is production this year, this is production in 24. So if the production is changing, basket is changing. So in deflator, the basket does not remain same. The deflator measures inflation across a changing basket. Why changing basket? Because the basket is nothing but the GDP. So whatever is the GDP in 25, compare it with GDP in 24, nominal and real both. That means the basket is constantly evolving. This is what is the meaning of deflator, equals divided by real GDP. How? वो भी constant है ना? How do we measure inflation? नहीं, I'll tell you ये confusion क्या है. What I'm saying is, how is CPI WPI calculated? CPI WPI में, this is measuring average prices of goods. This is general price level. Change in general price level is called as inflation or deflation. Now, average prices of what? So I said, for CPI, I will have certain goods and services. For WPI, I will have certain goods. And I will track the price change in them. Every year, I will keep the basket constant, right? But when I say GDP deflator is measuring nominal upon real of 25. And deflator next year would be nominal upon real of 24. So measuring between the two, change, this is average price level here, average price level here, this is percentage inflation. For moving from nominal to real, I need these indicators. But deflator is nominal upon real. So what I'm doing is, for moving from nominal to real, I need these two. But once I have nominal to real, I'm using this. So that means quantity into price. ये quantity तो GDP की है. This is why the basket is changing. This is why the basket is fixed. UPSC CDS में बहुत अच्छा question पूछा था. They asked this particular thing also only. Okay, what exactly is the use of deflator? Does the deflator is used for real GDP computation, or deflator is used to measure inflation? They had asked this particular problem itself कि हम real निकालते कैसे हैं? This you have to understand is a combination of these two, single deflation, double deflation, which became a lot of discussion tool in the last 2-3 months. So they had already asked this in 2024-23. There are 2 questions on deflator के concept क्या deflator का? Does deflator give you real, or you already have real and deflator tells you inflation? The thing I hope is clear here. This is how the measurement happens. With reference to capital formation in the economy, gross fixed capital formation includes investment in machinery, equipment, dwellings, and intellectual property products. Changes in stock of inventories held by firms are included in gross capital formation. The incremental capital output ratio measures productivity of capital with a lower ICOR indicating less efficient use of capital. Question is asking 2 things here. Savings have been transformed into investment. Question is asking first 2 statements. What is investment? And second, when investment is converted to output, this value of capital output or incremental output represents what? This is capital formation, this is capital output ratio. Whenever you have problems where the statement is mentioning too many words, write it down what it is asking. I'll show you in more questions also. Use a lot of pen and paper so that whatever logic you are forming in your brain should be actually related to what the question is asking. A lot of time under pressure with anxiety, we get these things wrong. So use pen and paper a lot in economic questions because the logic can go wrong. Write down whatever the paper is asking, whatever the question is asking. First is asking कि investment होता क्या है? In gross capital formation under the expenditure method, there is gross fixed capital formation. There is certain things which is change in inventory because there would be goods which are produced but not sold. And finally, I will have acquisition of valuables. These are the 3 things which are included under this. Fixed capital formation includes investment in machinery. Yes, this is fixed capital. Intellectual property products including software are fixed capital. Change in stock of inventories held by firms are included, definitely included. Incremental output ratio measures productivity. What is the concept of incremental output ratio? Incremental output ratio is saying how much of output how much of capital is required to generate 1 unit of output. Incrementally saying extra 1 unit के लिए extra capital कितना चाहिए, that is how much capital required to increase the output by 1. Now when this value is high, there are two explanations for this. One explanation is that maybe you are wasting capital because you need more capital to increase by unit by 1. That means you are poor. High core can tell me low efficiency, but this is not conclusive because high core can also happen when the project is capital intensive. Steel projects will always have a higher core as compared to a software project because the amount of capital required to generate 1 extra unit is always more. Nature of the project is such. So high core shows me low efficiency or high capital intensity. It is not necessarily productivity, it can be both. Question is saying core measures productivity of capital with a lower core indicating less efficient. If core is lower, it is more efficient. Though not necessarily, but it can definitely happen. So this statement becomes wrong. Again, eliminate, mark 1 and 2. Most of the times, this is an observed pattern, but again, you have to be careful. They tend to give 2 statements which are above, or even the options of 4 statements. They tend to give verbose statement in the above option so that you spend most of your time there and give very less time for this. Always read the 4 statements or the 3 statements with equal intensity. बहुत प्रॉब्लम ये देखा है that you don't reach the last, you think इतना दिमाग लगा दे next question पे जाता है, because again anxiety one day exam, so you don't have to end the anxiety by just moving to the next question. You have to read all the 4 carefully. Some questions read from first 2, 3, 4. Some questions try to read 4, 3, 2, 1 also. Mix and match in the exam and mark the answer wherever you find a wrong statement and try to move to the next. Read it, read all 4 carefully. यहाँ पे तीसरे statement को मुश्किल बनाया ताकि यहीं पे सारा time spend हो जाए. So that you create a logic something here which goes wrong and then you don't have anything left here, which is why then high low पढ़ने में ही problem हो जाएगा. Answer here is 1 and 2. India's multi-dimensional poverty index published by Niti Aayog captures multiple dimensions of deprivation beyond income poverty. Now income or consumption poverty is poverty line. MPI measures deprivation across different indicators. This is true. It uses 3 dimensions of deprivation: health, education, and standard of living. This is true. Its methodology is aligned with the Global Multidimensional Poverty Index framework developed by UNDP and Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative. Now, why this question? You know that there are some indicators which are different. Knowing a fact doesn't mean you have to apply your brain here. This also happens because I know so many things about certain things. I will now try to create a logic based on my information, forgetting what the question is asking. So 1 and 2 are completely direct. Here you don't have to find a flaw in the question. Ke methodology kya pata same, no indicator alag hai. Weights are different. Even if indicators and weights are different, methodology is still the same. This is what the trap of language is. Because I know I will answer based on my knowledge, I will not answer based on what you have actually asked. This is how you have to remain in your limit. This happens in CSAT also. In reading comprehension, since the comprehension passages are equal to what you learn in GS, so you have a lot of things. So you try to answer with what you know and not with the passage that is asking. This is why people can't solve RC. RC is the easiest part because 4 line लिखा उसका मतलब पूछा है. You're not able to interpret English, then that's a major problem. You should be able to do that. Same thing here. Based on what the question is saying, necessarily don't make the statement wrong. All of the 3 are correct. These 2 is what make this correct. Answer is 1. ये क्या स्क्रीन क्या हो गई? With reference to digital rupee issued by Reserve Bank, this is also an important topic because UPSC has been testing the concepts of money. This year, probable question is both digital rupee and also stable coins, because stable coins was extensively talked about in the economic survey. It's a private cryptocurrency authorized by Reserve Bank for circulation alongside rupee. Retail variant operates through token-based system distributed by participating commercial banks. Wholesale variant is being used for settlement of secondary market transaction in government security. Now, what exactly is right and what is wrong? First, it's a private, so automatically statement goes wrong. Digital rupee is issued by RBI, why it will be a private cryptocurrency? This statement makes no sense. Retail variant operates through token-based system. How does CBDC retail work? Banks have been issuing wallets. RBI issues this to the banks. Banks can issue it to the people who can load this through the wallets and then use it through QR. Offline, online, both. This is what is the use of token-based system participating commercial banks. Wholesale variant is being used for settlement of secondary market transactions. RBI has said, we'll give one type of CBDC wholesale only to banks. This will not be given to general public. Banks will use this CBDC wholesale in transactions with each other. Two types of currencies are being piloted. One is retail and the other is wholesale. This type of a coupon or this type of a token will only be used by banks. This can be used for settlement of buying and selling of securities. Wholesale market is what? The wholesale is for those people who deal in financial transactions beyond a certain value. There the participating institutions are different from what the retail are. It's not about the retail and wholesale value. It's about institution-based function. This is for general public. This is only for banks or other financial institutions. ये public के लिए नहीं है. This is what the difference between the two is. ये दोनों का भी pilot ही हुआ है. Private pay, you can get this question correct. 2 and 3 is what is correct. Again, don't be, language is not something which can give you a threat in the exam. You have to just simplify it. This is why economics question always write. They will try to write basic things in a difficult language, doesn't mean the question is difficult. You just try to write it whatever they are trying to mention. This is also a good theme. India taxes virtual digital assets under a special regime distinct from the regular capital gains taxation. Section 115 BBH of Income Tax Act prescribes a flat 30% tax on income from transfer of any virtual digital asset. Virtual digital asset exchanges operating in India are licensed and regulated by RBI under Banking Regulation Act 1949. Now, how can you solve this question? First, you know about virtual digital asset. Aata question, fir to there is no problem. Now we are trying to know from whatever understanding we have of virtual digital assets. First, what are virtual digital assets? Virtual digital assets are anything that is stock bonds are your conventional assets. This is cryptographic, that is only digital and it is tradable. For example, you have Bitcoin, you have other cryptocurrencies, you have stable coins, you have decentralized finance coins, you also have one more thing, NFTs. ये सब classified है वहाँ पे, written under the act itself, introduced I think 2 to 3 years back. Now all of them, the government says, whenever they will be bought and sold, whatever capital gains you have, these capital gains will be taxed. So this is what the news item was 3 years back. The government has not commented on whether they are legal or not. First, government has made sure that these are not legal tenders. But the government has made sure that these will be taxed whether they can be legally used or not. Legal tender nahi hai. Use pe there is no clarity. But if there is a profit which you make from them, you will have to pay a tax to the government, which the government says is 30% flat. Jisme there is 1% TDS also, withholding. The government says on top of this, and this is why it became controversial, if you make a profit in one crypto and you make a loss in another crypto, this profit will be 30% taxed. You will not be able to adjust the loss with it. There is no indexation benefit. That means if this profit also is because of inflation, there is no benefit, no indexation, and the loss cannot be offset here. No offsetting allowed, no inflation backed is allowed. This is what is the general idea. Again, based on whatever we know, Section Income Tax Act prescribes a flat 30% tax, income from transfer of any virtual digital asset, and the exchanges. This tricky part is exchange. Virtual digital asset exchanges operating in India are licensed and regulated by RBI. Now, what could be this statement? Why wrong, why correct? What is the logic you practice here? This is what is important. How do you apply whatever you know? Why? So it is not legalized. How do you know it's not legalized? Can you buy cryptos today in India? Can you buy NFTs? Can you buy stable coins? Yes. Then how are they not recognized? In what form do you think they are not recognized? RBI has constantly been saying it's not a legal tender and use them carefully because they're not backed by anything, or even if they are, you don't understand the concept before you use it. So what is the logic you use here? Okay, whether the exchanges are allowed. Exchanges are places where you can buy coin, DCX and all those exchange bante hain, jisse you can buy all of this. There are ads also on this. So how are ads possible? And even if we say an exchange is made, right? Exchange is where people can buy and sell. Exchange is made for regular financial assets. Who regulates the exchanges? It's the market regulator and not the central bank. So how likelihood it is that the central bank will do it? Both RBI and SEBI, they're not regulating it. The only regulation is the international money laundering regulation, which is the Financial Intelligence Unit, India, which works under Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance. This is the only regulating body where you have to have this registration. That's it, because we want to counter money laundering and financing terrorism, because these assets can be used there. What is our regulation is only these two. This is what the regulation here is. Logic say this question could have been solved. Either of these three explain this. This is what the statement is. With reference to Reserve Bank of India, consider the following statements. It earns interest income from loans extended directly to PSU. See, this is a very important topic. RBI के functions तो हमेशा clear होने चाहिए. This last year also, when they asked a question of source of income, it's only driven from functions of RBI. It's not that you need to know in detail about what the balance sheet of RBI is. It earns interest income from loans extended directly to PSU. Interest on its holdings of foreign currency asset is a major component of its gross income. Its annual surplus is paid to central government. 3 is correct. Interest on holding of foreign. Let us assume you don't know the first directly. 2 is correct. In fact, 2 का अभी relevance भी है market में. Why? Why there is a relevance of 2 in the market? नहीं, don't buy gold नहीं. RBI से related कैसे है? News पढ़ो ये question बिल्कुल easy है. See, right now you know that there is depreciation of the currency that is happening. This is why reading the newspaper you should never stop the day you are selected, because these things improve your knowledge base, improve your logics, so which you can manufacture a logic in the exam or also have an educated guess. Now the Indian economy is facing depreciation. Why? Because demand of dollar is increasing and supply of dollar is less. Right? ये हो रहा अभी 90 से 93, 95. Now, how is RBI defending this movement? How is RBI defending this movement? RBI is trying to defend this depreciation by selling dollars. Right? Now, if RBI is selling dollars, what is the benefit of RBI in selling dollars? One, it is stopping the backslide of rupee. In this process, is RBI making money? How? Is the RBI making money in this process? I am selling dollar in the market and in return I am being paid rupees. Right? Is the RBI making money on this? ये बहुत interesting concept है जो अभी 2 दिन में ही some newspapers have written. Is this making money? Why? When the RBI bought dollars, maybe it bought dollar at 75 or it bought at 78. Different prices पे इकट्ठा किया होगा. अब बेच कितने price पे रहा है? It is selling at 90. That means it's making profit, which means from these foreign currency buying and selling, it can make profits. From this profit, will it have good income? Yes. Will it have good income? If it has good income, it has to give this surplus income to the government. So when the government is facing losses from the PSU, because the PSU is not increasing the price of petrol or diesel, they are facing loss. Government will have to compensate the loss for them because the government is forcing them not to increase the price. Not through a direct regulation, because government is owner of the PSU. उसकी वजह से रोक रखा है. तो loss compensate will happen from this income surplus. This is why the government is hesitant in passing on the prices of increased petrol and diesel. Eventually तो करना पड़ेगा, but they are hesitant because this equation works. Surplus is paid, interest on its holdings of foreign is a major component of income. I can buy and sell, I can also get interest income. Why? Because these foreign currency asset, I can deposit in the banks outside, or this asset I can convert from currency into a security. Foreign currency assets mean three things in foreign exchange reserves. One, I can hold it in the form of currency. Second, I can deposit this currency in central bank outside or commercial bank. Or third, I can convert this into dollar securities. इन दोनों पे interest आता है, इसकी buying selling पे हम profit कमा सकते हैं. This is what I explained here. These two is what is the interest income. So this 2 and 3, regularly read the newspaper, you don't even have to go back there and track the logic. Because this explanation itself makes sense in this question. Does it earn interest income from loans given to PSU? Does it give loans to PSUs? Industrial loans तो नहीं है. Again, what happens here is, exam environment, do you think हमने नहीं पढ़ा शायद होता होगा? This is where it goes wrong, and with this statement, this question could be made difficult when I ask only 1, only 2, only 3 and none. वहाँ पे फिर फंस जाते हैं कि 2 मार्क करें 3 मार्क करें. And when you are under pressure and you try to revisit the question के चलो अभी छोड़ते हैं बाद में आते हैं, तो you are automatically giving your brain more time to create a logic where none exists. So just mark it with confidence and don't revisit. The biggest advantage of economics question is the concept exists, mark it. If it doesn't, it will be very difficult. Then you'll have to either leave the question or take a very high chance risk. So better है कि उसी टाइम मार्क करके आगे, तो बार बार सोचना नहीं इन क्वेश्चंस पे. Solve this question. SEBI raised the minimum index options contract value to curb retail speculation in futures and options segment. SEBI has banned the launch of new weekly index option contracts on all benchmark indices. The securities transaction tax on sale of options was raised in the budget 2024-25. Now we'll solve this question with whatever you know. Have you heard of futures and options? क्या सुना उनके बारे में? No, that is the meaning of the instrument. In the news, what you have heard of this? I know this is a difficult question, but we'll solve with whatever we know. First, you know what is the FNO market? FNO market is nothing but a derivative market, where in futures the price is already fixed, and here also the price can change, but you can forego the contract. Paying a minimum, you can forego the contract. This is the difference between the two, right? And it can track the value of any commodity, track the value of currency, or track the value of even the complete index. What is the complete index? Nifty 50 or even BSE. पूरा index, banking का index बना सकता है, index of any particular like-minded shares or even 50 whatever they've already created, right? Now this is the basic you know about this. ये तो basic financial market information होनी चाहिए, right? Second, news में क्या सुना है इसका? Common people have been lost. More than 90% have lost. 2 लाख करोड़ से ऊपर इस मार्केट में खो चुके हैं. 2 जगह पे people have gambled a lot. This is more of a derivative, has speculation aspect to it. It has also benefit that I can hedge my prices. It has a positive role to play also. Now one gambling was this, the other gambling was what? ये gamble में लोगों ने बहुत पैसा कमाया ने गवाया है. They've lost money because mobility was less. They could not earn money more from conventional sources. So they wanted to earn money from these sources. What was the other? The other speculation. From this we will solve this question. Government banned this. There's only one reason. This was a booming business. There was a lot of activity created by these companies where you could have created fantasy sports, real money games. There are regulations on this. They were completely removed. Now what happened here? When 90% of the people lost money, more than 2 lakh crore rupees has been lost in this market. Now if the people are constantly losing money, what will I do? How will I make the people move away from a particular topic which I think they don't understand? The reason is that I want to make you move away from cigarettes. So on the packet, 70% I told print cancer so that they know it's cancer. Second, I said impose every tax. This is how you come to know government wants to move away. How will the government make me move away from futures and options? I can move away by imposing a tax. Can this be a legible option? नहीं पता fact, but हो तो सकता ही था ये. And this is what has happened. Options pe bhi STT has been increased, futures pe also STT has been increased. Last budget they did that. What else I can do? What? I want people who are investing in this, can I increase the limit of investment? Not all people can come and invest. My limit of investment is say 5 lakh rupees. Now I'm saying limit is 15 lakh rupees. So only those will invest which are 15 lakh rupees. So that means you can increase the entry barrier and also you can tax. So if I want people to stop, the only information you had on this question was that this instrument is leading to losses. Now completely ban is not possible. Why? Just like Dream 11, I'm not completely banning it. Why I'm not banning it? Because future and options have a role to play in the market where you can hedge your price. That's a hedging instrument which is a positive role to play. That means completely eliminate to nahi kar raha hai. What we can do is entry barrier or tax. First is raise the minimum index options contract value to curb retail speculation. So this could be true. I know this could be true, this could be true. As SEBI has banned the launch of new weekly index option contracts on all benchmark indexes. Now the statement is saying quite intensely it has banned launch of all weekly index options on all benchmarks. Weekly index option is where the index option, the time limit is 1 week. 7 days pe expire hoga. Usually in Indian markets we trade on 1 month. But to increase the speculation, they are also passing 1 week also. So what SEBI said, it did not ban all indices. It said every index can have only one type of an index option. Limit yourself to one. So if Nifty is giving you an option contract for its index, it can only give one, decide which one. Bank index, IT index, or even 50 index. आप देखो एक ही करना है. That means I can limit, but I can't ban. Why? Because derivatives have an important role to play in the economy. So from my understanding that people were losing money, tax could happen, entry barrier could happen. Can it ban all benchmark indices? This goes extreme, so you can eliminate this and this is correct. If you are reading the newspaper, then this is an easy question. If you are not, you just have to read the question carefully. What was this? The intimidating factor here was index option contract value. तो पढ़ते ही दिमाग घूम जाएगा इतनी बड़ी बात क्या लिख दी? At the end of the day, it's just an option contract which is tracking the movement of index. Problem with which I had was if people are losing money, I want to control their behavior. Control behavior by taxing, control behavior by limiting entry. Doesn't mean ban it. So that educated guess would have worked here. Answer would be 1 and 3. Is it clear? Again, financial markets is something which has not been explored in the last 15 years. Last 2 years se bahut pooch raha hai. So these type of questions you can expect. You should not be surprised ke kya ho gaya. Read it carefully with whatever information you have. Exact information though I don't think so anyone would be having on this because this regulation was quite specific. But based on whatever educated guess you can create, answer could have been arrived at. The trade receivable discounting system is regulated by SEBI. Under the payment and settlement system, RBI is the designated regulator for important payment systems. National Electronic Fund Transfer System operates on a 24/7 basis. Have you heard about TREDS? ये तो इस बार बहुत न्यूज़ में था. What is TREDS? Invoices based or invoice based financing. This is what is called as factoring, right? So the TREDS platform, anyone can start a TREDS platform. इसके rules हैं. 3 TREDS platform, 4 TREDS platform इंडिया में है. Idea is MSME don't get paid. We want them to use the invoices which they have collected and use this invoice to raise a loan from बैंक और NBFC. डिस्काउंटिंग ऑफ इनवॉइसेस. 1 लाख का इनवॉइस है, 90,000 मिलेंगे, 10,000 हमारे, 1 लाख का हम उसको रिडीम कर लेंगे. दिस इज व्हाट इज इनवॉइस बेस्ड फाइनेंसिंग, राइट? नाउ हु वुड रेगुलेट दिस फंक्शन ऑफ ओपनिंग अ ट्रेड और नॉट ओपनिंग अ ट्रेड? पहले इसमें हो क्या रहा है? इट्स लोन बेस्ड where banks and NBFC involved. If it is a loan based, who is more probable to regulate them? RBI or SEBI? So trade is regulated not by SEBI but RBI. Go with the function. See what function. From the function, can I derive who regulates this function? Definitely this function will be regulated by RBI. Now, not even this. Payment and settlement systems. Who's the regulator of that? Again RBI through the 2007 Act. So if you know the function of RBI, this plus this. This is not SEBI. National Electronic Fund Transfer System operates on a 24/7 basis. This was asked last year also. RTGS और NEFT के timing क्या है? It is 24/7. These two statements are correct. Again, go from the function के काम क्या हो रहा है, उसका regulator कौन है? अब वो नॉट नोन टू अस मुझे कैसे पता है कि क्या आता है क्या नहीं आता? सी हम कभी भी पेपर में ना स्ट्रैटेजी पहले नहीं बनाते. फर्स्ट यू ओनली प्रैक्टिस. यू प्रैक्टिस मेकिंग गेसेस, लॉजिक्स, एंड ऑल्सो यू प्रैक्टिस रैंडम गेसेस. वो लेस दैट मोर. इन द पेपर विल सी व्हाट द नेचर ऑफ क्वेश्चन इज. हाउ योर गेस वर्क वर्क्स ऑन टू थिंग्स. First, how many options you could eliminate and how many guesses you can make which you were confident on. Second, what is your confidence on the entire paper? If your confidence on the entire paper is high, then you decide whether to leave that question or take the question, because then your return to that question would not add a lot. But if you know that you are dicey, then you would go with these questions. तो पेपर का ओवरऑल पैटर्न पे गेस लो कि पेपर आसान आया तो इसकी कट ऑफ ज़्यादा जाएगी, पेपर मुश्किल आया तो किसी को नहीं आता होगा. Because at the end of the day, everyone is reading almost similar sources. So what logics they can create, what logic you can create, इसी की गेम है. उस लॉजिक के लिए कॉन्फिडेंस चाहिए. कॉन्फिडेंस के लिए हम कितनी तैयारी करके आए, दैट्स इट. तो वो पहले सोच के कुछ मत जाओ, वहीं पे करना गेस वर्क. आई कांट मेक यू प्रिपेयर फॉर गेसेस, आई कैन मेक यू प्रैक्टिस इन सर्टन कॉन्टेक्स्ट. बट अब मुझे थोड़ी पता स्टेटमेंट क्या आएगी. हेयर यू क्रिएटेड एन ऑल्टरनेट सिस्टम, इवन यू डोंट नो. Based on your entire performance, based on your confidence in history, polity, other subjects, you take guess. If you think you are not confident there, you want to take a guess, go ahead. तो वो इंटायर पेपर उसी दिन लेना, उसी टाइम. इसीलिए तो अभ्यास कराते हैं ना कि सब कुछ ट्राई करके देख लो. क्वेश्चन इंपॉर्टेंट कभी भी नहीं होता है, क्वेश्चन सेम कभी भी नहीं आएगा. हम क्या कर रहे हैं वो मैटर करता है, और वो चीज़ सेम ना करें वहाँ पे. दिस इज द ओनली गेम ऑफ MCQs. सही गलत करना इज, दिस इज व्हाट आई एक्सप्लेन्ड इन द फर्स्ट 10 minutes, इज व्हेन यू डू द फर्स्ट स्टेज, व्हेन यू आर डूइंग सेक्शनल टेस्ट. वहाँ पे अंडरस्टैंडिंग टेस्ट होती है. आगे तो सिर्फ लॉजिक मेकिंग ही है, क्योंकि क्वेश्चन कभी भी सेम आएगा ही नहीं. हाउ कॉन्फिडेंट आई एम ऑन लॉजिक्स, दिस इज वेयर माई प्रैक्टिस एंड न्यूज़पेपर रीडिंग कम्स. कितनी डाइवर्स इंफॉर्मेशन है. तो अगर अभ्यास 1 2 3 मान लेते हैं, उसमें से आपको 30% क्वेश्चन आते थे, 70% आपको नई इंफॉर्मेशन मिली है, जिसपे you had practiced guesswork, and now 70% new information you can use that in the exam. So forget what is the difficulty level. आने दो 10 नंबर. मैटर ये करता है कितनी इंफॉर्मेशन बेस स्प्रेड हो गया ताकि वो यूज हो पाए आगे. प्रॉब्लम विच पीपल स्टक इन इज कि दे स्टार्ट जजिंग द क्वेश्चन. दे थिंक ये अच्छा क्वेश्चन नहीं है, बेकार क्वेश्चन नहीं है. फॉरगेट ना, इंफॉर्मेशन लो. इंफॉर्मेशन अगर किताबों से लेने जाओगे तो बहुत टाइम लग जाएगा. प्रीलिम्स के मार्क्स ऐड होते तो आई वुड सजेस्ट रीड द बुक. बट मार्क्स ही ऐड नहीं होने तो इंफॉर्मेशन पेपर से ले लो ना. Expose yourself to difficult things. This is what helps in the exam. You expose yourself only to comfortable things, you get a shock in the exam. This is where then you go wrong in the easy questions also. Selection easy पे ही होना है. वो गलत इसलिए होता है क्योंकि वो इंटिमिडेट हो जाते हैं दूसरे क्वेश्चन से. पहले इंटिमिडेट हो जाओ तो डर ही नहीं लगेगा. प्लस यू नो कि सबके लिए मुश्किल है, अकेले हमारे लिए थोड़ी है. तो वो 75 जाएगी. पिछले साल आसान था, 93 चलेगी. इस साल आसान आता तो 100 जाएगी, नहीं आता तो दोबारा 80 जाएगी. हमें 80+1 चाहिए. You don't need 180. So that is how the smart work has to be done there. But smart work can only happen when you have done the hard work. तो ये ऐसे रैंडम सिचुएशन मत बना दिमाग, वहीं देखेंगे. अभी हम ज़्यादा पढ़ते हैं, नॉलेज गेन ज़्यादा करते हैं ताकि हम वहाँ बना पाए लॉजिक. ये स्ट्रैटेजी है. एंड दिस इज अ प्रॉब्लम विच आई एम सीइंग नाउ. पीपल आर डिसाइडिंग व्हाट गुड एंड अ बैड क्वेश्चन इज. अब वो थोड़ी कर सकते हैं यार. मैं मैच खेलता हूँ, प्रैक्टिस कर रहा हूँ, तो मैं सारी बॉल की प्रैक्टिस करूंगा ना. नहीं, मैं बोलूँगा सारी फुल टॉस ही दे, क्योंकि मैं तो फुल टॉस ही आती है. तो फिर नहीं होगा ना पास. मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी कमिटी है फुल टॉस. दिस इज समथिंग यू शुड नॉट गो रॉन्ग विद. दिस इज बेसिक. इट कंसिस्ट ऑफ 3 members फ्रॉम RBI and 3 nominated by सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट. कोई नहीं, फुल टॉस पे आउट होते हैं लोग. Members nominated by central government hold office for fixed term of 3 years. See, अब ये है कंफ्यूजन. अब ये बेसिक फैक्ट है. इज इट 3 years? फॉरगेट दैट ना. अभी तो ये बताओ 3 years से नहीं. Only 1, only 2, only 3 and none. The governor has a casting vote in the event of a tie. So 1 and 2 तो are completely simple. Now what about 3? अब इसमें ही फंसी गए ना. 1 2 3 और 1 and 3. अब बताओ इसमें गलत कैसे हो सकता है? ये सिलेक्शन है. इफ दिस इज रॉन्ग, सिलेक्शन इज गॉन. बिकॉज फिर ऐसा पॉलिटी में भी गलत करोगे, हिस्ट्री में भी गलत करोगे. व्हाट इज द टाइम? 5 year. So take a guess. Let's see who gets selected. I think 3. 3, 4, 5. 4 is the right answer. स्टेटमेंट सही हो जाती सिर्फ 5 और 4 की, क्योंकि 3 लिखा है, बट यू अंडरस्टैंड बेसिक चीज है ये. इट्स अ मैटर फॉर 4 and not eligible for reappointment. These are written in the Monetary Policy Committee. Answer is 1 and 3. With reference to Reserve Bank's liquidity management toolkit, consider the following: repo rate, fixed rate, reverse repo rate, standing deposit facility rate, MSF rate. Which of the following continue to function as primary tools for daily liquidity management? Again, an easy question which you should mark directly in the OMR. Use the OMR directly. Daily liquidity management, when SDF was introduced in 2021, RBI said reverse repo rate will be on our discretion. When we will say, then only it will happen. Automatic nahi hai. Automatic you need money, repo, MSF, SDF. That's the only 3 available to you. So repo, SDF and MSF. This is discretionary. So daily management ka primary tool nahi hai ye. Answer would be 1, 3 and 4. Now this is something again, not something which you should know क्योंकि definition पता है. ये तो सीधा सीधा आंसर है. ये ऐसे क्वेश्चन है तो पेपर में लगता है बहुत मुश्किल, घर आके लगता है सबसे आसान. They have given, what do you mean? Given कुछ भी करो, रिवर्स रेपो रेट तो डिस्क्रिशन पे अनाउंसमेंट पे है ना, तो प्राइमरी टूल तो नहीं है. प्राइमरी टूल तो जो है वो तीनों यही फैसिलिटी है, तभी तो वो लोअर बाउंड से एलएफ का हटा के एसडीएफ करा था. Which of the following best describes open market operations conducted by a Reserve Bank under sterilization? What is sterilization? Reducing the money supply. Sterilization में होता क्या है? इसकी चेन बना दो ना उसी टाइम पे, क्योंकि इसमें डेफिनेशन पूछा. अदरवाइज यूपीएससी आस्क सिंपल क्वेश्चंस आल्सो ऑन दिस. चेन इज व्हाट? Inflow of dollar. Inflow of dollar means increase supply. Increase supply means appreciation. Appreciation kills the export. Imports सस्ते करता है, exports कम कर देता है. हमारी प्रॉब्लम है, imports बढ़ा देगा तो हम domestic क्या बनाएंगे. Now how do I solve this appreciation problem? I will buy dollar. When I buy dollar, sell rupees, I will get inflation. So I buy rupees, sell security. 1 plus 2 is sterilization. Sterilize the dollar. Net sale of government securities to absorb rupee liquidity created by RBI's purchase of foreign currency. This is the exact definition. Sale of security to absorb rupee, which was created because bank purchased this. Answer is 1. Issue of cash management bills to finance temporary mismatches in government cash flow. Forward purchase of foreign currency to manage exchange rate. Use of liquidity adjustment facility to inject overnight liquidity into the banking system. Answer is A. Completely, this is basic sterilization, already mentioned twice or thrice in the paper. Which of the following statement is correct regarding CRR and SLR? ये बड़ा अच्छा क्वेश्चन है, इन्होंने आसान बना दिया बस. स्टेटमेंट बहुत अच्छी बनाई है. CRR is maintained by scheduled banks as a percentage of their NDTL with Reserve Bank and is not interest bearing. SLR maintained under Banking Regulation Act must be entirely held in cash. Government securities held under SLR cannot be classified as high quality liquidity assets under liquidity coverage framework. ये न्यूज़ में था बहुत, LCR. Cash reserve ratio cannot be raised above 15% of a bank's NDTL under the RBI Act 1934. Now this is incorrect. You know cash नहीं है. ये तो सबसे पहले रट्टा मारा आता है monetary policy में. SLR is cash, approved securities और gold, right? What about the other 3? Government securities held under SLR cannot be classified as high quality liquidity asset under LCR framework. ये the previous chairman of HDFC Bank wrote an article in the Indian Express to highlight this problem, though RBI to some extent has solved this. You know what is liquidity coverage framework? Yeah, RBI, this is Basel 3. Basel 3 said that banks should always have liquidity because 2008 crisis के बाद liquidity became a major concern. They said for short-term liquidity, every bank should maintain a liquidity coverage ratio, which is high quality liquid assets sorry, as a percentage of their 1 month cash flows. So if I know in 1 month I have a cash flow of 1 lakh rupees, तो 1 lakh rupees मेरे liquid asset में होने चाहिए. 1 month cash flow should be equal to this ratio should be 100%. The other, they said liquidity should be stable in long term also. What is the net available funds should be equal to what are the funds required for 1 year. So if I know in the 1 year I require 10 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees के sources available होने चाहिए. This is called as net stable funding ratio. Long term liquidity and short term liquidity. Now RBI has said this banks have to maintain in India. Banks have to maintain liquidity coverage ratio. तो HDFC का chairman आदित्य पुरी he wrote 18% आपके SLR में रखें, वो रुकवाया हुआ आपने बैंकिंग रेगुलेशन एक्ट में. सॉरी 3 to 4% हम CRR रखें. फिर बेसल 1 के बाद से कैपिटल एडिक्वेसी मेंटेन करें. फिर 100% पैसा हाई क्वालिटी लिक्विड एसेट में भी रोके. तो हम बिजनेस किससे करें? He said if 100% money has to be blocked in liquid asset apart from SLR. SLR भी तो ब्लॉक करा है ना लिक्विड एसेट में आपने हमारा. तो सिमिलर इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स हैं ये, पर्पस अलग है बट सिमिलर इंस्ट्रूमेंट. दिस इज टू कंट्रोल रिजर्व्स, टू कंट्रोल लोन्स. दिस इज टू कंट्रोल liquidity for a bank. This is a prudential norm so that you don't face liquidity issues. So I'm blocking too many of my assets. So RBI introduced a facilities for availing under liquidity coverage ratio. So they said 16% तक SLR काउंट होगा LCR में भी. 16% of SLR securities will be counted under liquidity coverage ratio. This is a facility they had introduced. इसकी रेशियो कम रखी थी, फिर इवेंचुअली बढ़ा के 16 कर दिया. In fact, the remaining 2% which you can actually buy under MSF. Remember MSF borrowing can be done using SLR securities. Even this 2% of MSF will be counted under LCR. So we're not giving you additional burden. These two things will be counted. 18% SLR separately, 2% MSF separately. This statement is wrong. The government securities held under SLR can be classified as HQLA under LCR. ये इस साल का काफी न्यूज में था LCR. Next, cash reserve ratio cannot be raised above 15% of a bank's net time and demand deposits under RBI Act 1934. Is there a floor or a ceiling to CRR? There used to be. 15% floor बनाया था, sorry, ceiling बनाया था. 4% floor. 2006 they amended the RBI Act and removed the ceiling and floor. And they said discretionary है, कितना भी कर सकते. So it can be raised. Earlier the limit existed. Answer is this. In these questions you just move ahead. It will just be I'm discussing so that information base helps you solve the question there. Again, never expect from practice papers direct question. From practice papers only create logics. Test yourself on logic. If you get wrong, nobody cares. Nobody cares how much you scored in any of the practice tests because they're not standard difficulty. You just have to expose yourself to maximum information ताकि वहाँ बन जाए question. End goal वहाँ है. End goal ये paper नहीं है. Doesn't mean that stop doing it. Do more. Expose more to new information. In fact, science and tech environment की तो होनी तैयारी paper से चाहिए. Because reading sources you don't know where the end line is. Contingent risk buffer of RBI is built from the surplus of its annual operations before any transfer to central government. Size is calibrated to cover reserves, monetary, financial stability and credit risk identified by Bimal Jalan Committee. I discussed in one of the previous classes, contingent risk buffer. ये topic भी थोड़ा सा important तो है. You know RBI gives surplus. How do they decide the surplus? This is a question on surplus. How did they decide? That's it. बड़ा simple नहीं हो गया. RBI ने through several process. I'm not going into the details of its asset liability structure. बड़े basic बात बताऊंगा. RBI का काम क्या है? It's a monetary policy body that is controls the money supply in the economy. That also we have shared the functions with MPC. Right? There are other functions also. Now, whatever the operations of RBI are, in order to perform a function, RBI in these operations can generate income. Primary source of income is seigniorage. 500 का नोट छापा, बना 2 का, छापा 500 का. The difference is seigniorage. Similarly, larger income को भी seigniorage ही बोल देता है. Interest income मिला, number of things. Because currency is a zero interest liability, but in the process of currency I make money. Process of foreign currency assets, securities, I make a lot of money. Now, what will they do with this income? RBI is not a commercial body. They say, you give this surplus to government. But before I give the surplus to government, RBI as a body also has some risk. It can face some market volatility risk. एकदम से The prices of oil increased where the bank started facing a problem क्योंकि इन्होंने loans दिया तो हमें बैंक को पैसा देना है. RBI otherwise also the security price increase or decrease. For example, market risk बोलते. तीन type के major risk है. One is credit risk. What if the bank is unable to return its money? Then I have a market risk. What if the market conditions change, which is adverse for me? And other is operational risk. किसी भी financial institution के ये तीन risk होता है. Operational risk है हमारे यहाँ पे कोई corrupt हो गया, तो पैसे खराब हो गए. Now market risk क्या है? Consider this case. RBI is holding a lot of government securities which are denominated in US dollars as part of its reserves. What if suddenly because of US government actions, the yield on these securities increase? If these yield on these securities increase, the bond price will fall. That means I bought something for 100, its value is 80 today. So any amount of risk I have to cover for the risk. So RBI पूरा income transfer नहीं करता है. Some part of its income it has to keep with itself. That income which it keeps with itself is called as economic capital framework. How much it should keep for itself, because risk is something you have to determine how much I feel I safe to cover for the risk. How much they feel safe to cover for the risk is decided by committees. The last committee was the Bimal Jalan committee. They had said कि इतना रख सकते हो, ये safe limits है. What is economic capital framework? The capital with which RBI started, the reserves which it has to keep. This is the traditional money of RBI. Along with this, there is contingency fund and asset development fund. ये risk coverage के लिए होता है, ये development के लिए है, इसके institutions and otherwise. This contingency fund and asset development fund is called as contingency risk buffer. This is risk buffer. Plus, things like this happen. What is this is, I am holding it, I am not sold it. I am holding it, but I know value is constantly changing. Similarly, RBI is also holding gold. Sometimes the value goes up, sometimes the value goes down. That means constantly the assets which I am holding, their value keeps on changing. That change in value is I keep in revaluation reserves. This total is what is called as economic capital framework, जिसमें से ये realized equity है और contingency risk buffer है ये. This contingency risk buffer last year RBI said we are going to keep 6 plus minus 1.5. 4.5 से 7% के बीच में पैसा रखेंगे. जो बिमल जलान कमेटी उन्होंने टोटल का बोला था, you can keep 20.8 to 25.6, where this you can keep somewhere in the range 5.5 to 7. Now this RBI has changed and they said we are going to maintain 1.5 of CRB. अब इतनी टेक्निकल डिटेल्स में नहीं जाना है. What we need to know if you know the meaning of CRB or revaluation reserve or not. This is the entire economic capital framework. Coming back to the question. The contingent risk buffer of RBI is built from surplus of its annual operations before any transfer. So before transfer I keep something because I have risk. Size of contingent is calibrated to cover monetary, financial and credit risk. This is what I was talking about, कि risk coverage के लिए कुछ पैसा रखना होता है. Identified by Bimal Jalan committee. So experts tell you how much is enough. Keep one, transfer other. This is, both are correct, explains the statement too. The inflation target, again MPC, ये full toss आ गया. Inflation target is set by RBI in consultation with central government. The Monetary Policy Committee is required to publish a monetary policy report at least twice every financial year. The target is anchored to the CPI combined. First, inflation target is set by whom? अभी recently भी हुआ है ये. Is set by whom? MPC को तो achieve करना है. Target achieve किसको करना है? See, this is now you're getting government in consultation with RBI will set the target. Who will achieve the target? MPC. If they don't achieve, they are answerable to the government. Will publish every 6 months. They'll publish a report, and target is anchored to CPI combined. One more. MPC decides what? What are the tools for maintaining monetary policy? There is first reserve, CRR, SLR. Second is LAF, LF में MSF, SDF, repo, and third is OMO. ये तीन है. इनमें से MPC का डिसाइड करता है और RBI का डिसाइड करता है. कन्वेंशनल चीजों के रट्टे मार के कभी क्वेश्चन नहीं होंगे. The monetary policy, when was this change framework happened? The RBI Act was amended and it said MPC will vote on policy rate. CRR, SLR, MSF, SDF, OMO still RBI. MPC only votes on policy rate. Policy rate is linked to SDF and MSF. वो बनाया हुआ फ्रेमवर्क 0.5 ऊपर 0.5 नीचे वो है क्योंकि बनाया है, बट वो डिसाइड इज RBI. सो MPC ओनली वोट्स ऑन पॉलिसी. तो 6 मेंबर उस पर करेंगे, बढ़ना चाहिए कम होना चाहिए. स्टांस क्या है? न्यूट्रल, अकोमोडेटिव और हॉकिश. Anchored to CPI twice. Inflation target is set by RBI in consultation with government. It's the opposite. Government in consultation with RBI. One is wrong. The standing deposit facility replaced the fixed rate reverse repo as the floor of policy rate corridor. Banks may borrow under MSF to 3% of their net demand time liabilities. Variable rate and variable rates are restriction to overnight tenors. बताओ भाई इसका आंसर. Forget the options. Options are wrong. SDF replaced the fixed rate reverse repo as the floor of policy rate corridor. Right? Floor SDF हटा के वही तभी discretionary किया था. Ceiling is MSF, SDF is floor, in between is policy rate, repo rate. Banks may borrow under MSF up to 3% of their net demand and time liabilities. ये गलत हो सकता है. So what will you do? Exam. Pandemic में 3% कर दिया था, वापस restore 2 पे कर दिया है. Variable rate and repo and reverse repo auctions are restricted to overnight tenors. Are they done only for one day? Overnight is one day. Are variable rate repo and variable rate reverse repo, are they done only for one day? Can it be done for 14-day, 28-day or even long terms? Yes, this is wrong. Only one statement is correct here. This. ये 3% सही दिया, सही है नहीं, 2% है. Consider the following pairs of priority sector lending targets applicable to scheduled commercial banks. Total priority sector is 40%. Agriculture is 18. Micro enterprises 7.5 weaker sections. How would you solve this? क्यों? What's the logic behind that? Agriculture भी सही है. ये तो famous है. 10% for small and marginal farmers also. In fact, this I gave so much information on priority sector lending. Micro enterprises 7.5 weaker sections 12. MSME का they had asked last year. All loans given to MSME are classified as PSL. Why? What do you mean बड़ा sector? Weaker section बड़ा sector नहीं है. इंडिया में strong है कौन सा section? अंबानी जी को छोड़ दो तो. All 4 are correct. This is a question. If you don't know the fact, skip it. Logic बनाओ मत इसमें. Just because PSL का करना ही है question, छोड़ दो ये question. Because if you don't know these 3 facts, even if you don't know these 2 facts, don't create a logic. Because these numbers absolutely don't have a logic behind it. Because priority sector, एक RBI ने किसी टाइम बोला agriculture important है तो दे रहे हैं 18. अब वो क्यों 18 वो कोई logic नहीं है उसका. Same if you know the fact, solve it. Otherwise, skip this question. Again, this is विराट कोहली का ऑफसाइड वाला बॉल. खेलेगा जरूर, आउट होगा, नहीं मारेगा तो छोड़ना ही है. Don't skip, don't answer these type of questions. All the 4. If you know it, then it's better. With reference to Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme, सावधान रहें, सतर्क रहें. कितनी ऐड आती है इसकी. Scheduled commercial banks, deposit taking NBFCs, credit information companies, non-bank payment system participants. Which of them are included under integrated ombudsman scheme? 1 and 2 should not be a problem. You have a complaint against banks and NBFC, that is clear. Credit information companies and non-bank payment. 3 is also, ये भी बहुत famous है. Non-bank payment system participants. Is payment bank regulated by RBI? Or is payment systems regulated by RBI? So if there are complaints against payment systems, who will solve it? All 4 are correct. इसमें लॉजिक बन सकता है क्योंकि लॉजिक एक्चुअली है इसका. Because RBI is regulating these bodies, so if you have a complaint against them, ombudsman is a grievance redressal mechanism. You can have this. All 4 are correct. These type you can attempt. You should attempt. With reference to scheduled banks under RBI Act, inclusion in second schedule, minimum paid up capital and reserves of 5 lakh, eligibility to obtain refinance from NABARD, compulsory maintenance of CRR with Reserve Bank. First, you know, scheduled banks are second scheduled. Two factors, 5 lakh rupees and what's the second? Second schedule में enter करने के लिए what are the two conditions? 5 lakh rupees and you should act in the interest of depositors. तो जब बैंक शुरू होता है, जब तक interest of depositors RBI satisfy नहीं है, second schedule में नहीं डालेगा. When it does, what's the benefit? You automatically get LAF. Second, you can get refinance facilities, the discounting facilities on bank rate. Third, clearing house के part हो जाते automatically. Second schedule 5 lakh is done. Eligibility to obtain refinance from NABARD. Scheduled bank related to NABARD. This is not. Compulsory maintenance of CRR with the Reserve Bank. This is true. 1, 2 and 4. NABARD has no link here with scheduled banks. Basic idea of NABARD, if you know, this will not be wrong. This RBL ने बेचा अभी थोड़ा सा equity अपना. This is why this is important. FDI up to 49% in Indian private sector banks is permitted under automatic route. FDI above 49 requires government approval under consolidated FDI policy. How much FDI is allowed in banks in India? There are 3 types of banks: public sector banks, government owned, private sector banks, and foreign banks, which have 2 modalities: foreign banks opening branches or foreign banks opening whole owned subsidiaries. The question is asking about FDI in private banks. RBL का भी बहुत news है. RBL is getting FDI. FDI up to 49 is permitted under automatic route. FDI above 49 in private banks requires government approval. You know FDI in banks, how much it is? Public sector banks, SBI में allowed FDI. 20% for public sector banks. 74% in private banks, where 49 is automatic and up to 74 is government. Beyond 49 is government. Both are correct. This was news, quite a news. FDI. Approval route. 49 के बाद 74 तक पहुंचने के लिए गवर्नमेंट चाहिए. 49 तक ऑटोमेटिक है, यही स्टेटमेंट है. FDI up to 49 in is permitted. FDI above 49% in private sector bank requires government approval under the consolidated FDI policy. This is FDI in banking. Reference to income recognition and asset classification. How are assets classified? When does the account become NPA? How are assets classified in India? First, retail loan account, first statement, where installments overdue for 31 to 60 is classified as SMA 0. You have standard asset and you have non-performing asset. Standard asset में principal interest not paid for first 30, 0 to 30, 31 to 60 and 61 to 90. This is SMA 0. This is SMA 1 and this is SMA 2. NPA, it becomes, first is substandard up to 1 year. Second is doubtful 1 to 3 and 3 के बाद loss. This is the asset classification. NPA जैसे ही register हो जाएगा, these 3 will have to do keep capital aside provision. This is what is called as loan loss provisions. Retail loan account where installments are overdue for 31 to 60 is classified as special mention account 0. 31 to 60 is SMA 1, not 0. Again, you know the facts, you do it. Don't know the facts, don't attempt. Until unless you have a elimination option. Otherwise, so you should not. Term loan account remains standard until interest or installment is overdue for more than 90 days. Yes, 90 से 1 year तक ही हम वहाँ पहुँच जाते हैं, तो वो standard रहता है. Doubtful asset is one classified as substandard for a period exceeding 12 months. Yes, exceeding 12 months to 3 years is a doubtful asset. Loss assets are accounts where loss has been identified but not written off. True. जब write off हो जाएगा वो हट जाएगा book से, तब तक loss asset में लिखा जाएगा. This is what is your classification of NPAs. 3 statements are correct. First is not. First is SMA 1, not 0. Which of the following is not a parameter triggering invocation of RBI's revised prompt corrective action framework? What is prompt corrective action framework? ये Basel 2 के बाद ही शुरू हुआ था, पहले भी 2004 में RBI did it. It's an important theme. This is to discipline banks. If we think they are not, performance is affected, I will take corrective steps. This is what is prompt corrective action. 3 triggers हैं इसके. One is capital, which is measured through both capital adequacy ratio and capital conservation buffer. Second is leverage ratio. Leverage ratio is tier 1 capital to its total exposure, total assets. ये 3% होता है. And third is the NPA ratio. There are different indicators for this. ये banks के लिए है. Similar ऐसे ही triggers हैं urban cooperatives के लिए, triggers हैं NBFCs के लिए. These triggers you should know. Banks का triggers are mostly in news. Capital to risk weighted asset ratio CR is a trigger. Net non-performing asset ratio is a trigger. Common equity tier 1 ratio is a trigger. Statutory liquidity ratio compliance, this is not. ये CET1 ratio capital के लिए भी हो सकती है. Capital adequacy मैं tier 1 से ही बना सकता हूँ. This should not be confusing. Remember, capital adequacy ratio is what? Capital to risk weighted asset. Capital दो type का होता है, tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 1 is further CET1 and additional tier 1. So CET1 ratio is also important. वो capital adequacy है. In fact, counter buffer, capital conservation buffer is also CET ratio. 2.5% of CET, of risk weighted asset in CET1. These 3 are, this is not. In fact, ये 2021 में change किया था. इससे पहले profitability ratio भी था. Return on assets. That was also there. Now we have removed it. SLR compliance is not. Sarfazi Act. You heard of this act? What is Sarfazi? हाँ नहीं वो नहीं होता क्या इसमें? 2 ही प्रोसेस है. Sarfazi भी पूछा था. इनफैक्ट इनविट में पूछा था Sarfazi है कि नहीं है. What is Sarfazi? Whenever the loan goes bad, you have to recover value. Recover value के लिए जो इनिशियल 2 चीजें नरसिम्हम ने बोला. First नरसिम्हम said कि create debt recovery tribunals and debt recovery appellate tribunals. कोर्ट में बात मत जाने दो, specific tribunals बनाओ बैंक की रिकवरी के लिए. For this, in 93 there was an act passed. Recovery of bad loans and financial debts due to banking system legislation. Then they said, pass another act. Why? Because what was happening? Whenever people were giving collateral, they were going to the court to save their collateral in bad loans. They were saying banks नहीं इसको नीलाम करेंगे, नहीं इसका control लेंगे. This enforcement of security interest means bank can take the control of this asset without the intervention of court. I created a separate institution, then I removed the interference of court so that the collateral can be now controlled by the bank. अब इसका एक exception इन्होंने बनाया कि agriculture को नहीं परेशान करेंगे. So if it applies to security interest created in agricultural land, no. Collateral of agricultural land is an exception here. A secured creditor may take possession of secured assets on classification without intervention of court. Creditor हमारा बैंक है, ये secured था, sorry, because collateral था. It take possession without intervention of court. This is the meaning of Sarfazi. Appeals measured by secured creditor are heard by debt recovery tribunal under section 17. ये पहले बनाए इसलिए थे कि इसकी अगर अपील हो तो यहाँ जाए. This is recovery, basics of banking what we read. Answer here is 2 and 3. Sarfazi के 2-3 facts और भी है. Sarfazi is scheduled commercial banks, yes. 2020 में cooperative banks भी कर सकते हैं. ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजमेंट ने बोला. मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फाइनेंस ने बोला एनबीएफसी का अगर 25-20 लाख से ऊपर का लोन है, 100 करोड़ से ऊपर की एनबीएफसी है, वो भी कर सकता है. 20 लाख के लोन के ऊपर से एनबीएफसी कैन ऑल्सो टेक द कंट्रोल ऑफ द क्रेडिट ऑफ द लोन्स. इनफैक्ट कंट्रोल करके ये करेंगे क्या? These 3 things can sell the bad loan, to asset reconstruction company to recover value. ARCs are companies which are registered under SARFAESI but regulated by RBI. ये connected theme banking का है, SARFAESI. Thing to understand here, agricultural land is exempt. Can't take. Asset reconstruction companies are ones which buy this asset from the bank, and these are registered under SARFAESI Act but regulated by RBI. यही asset reconstruction company government ने बनाई NARCL to resolve NPAs. The NARCL acquires non-performing loans of public sector banks under an 1585 cash to security receipt payment structure. I'll explain what this is. Government of India provides a guarantee on security receipts issued by it. दो चीजें हैं SARFAESI में. SARFAESI says एनफोर्समेंट ऑफ सिक्योरिटी इंटरेस्ट मींस कि कोर्ट नहीं जाना है, कोलेटरल का कंट्रोल बैंक ले ले. Earlier I was going to the bank and trying to stop the bank from taking control of the asset. अब question is, when the bank takes control of the collateral, can the bank recover value from the collateral? The answer is no. Bank has only one function, that is to price risk. Loan का pricing is एक ही काम है बैंक का, investment या loan की pricing. So if I have taken the collateral, how will I recover value? What should be the price of the land? What should be the price of shares? What should be done to the company which is not giving me that thing? What they do is, the bank can sell this collateral to an asset reconstruction company. Asset reconstruction company will value the asset and accordingly buy it. ये सबसे बड़ी इनकी प्रॉब्लम होती है, कितने का खरीदे. Asset reconstruction company has a vertical or can have a separate company which tries to recover value. But question is, ये ARC AMC structure चलता कैसे? How will they get the money to buy it? So if I bought a bad loan of 100 crore rupees, the total bad loan was 100 crore, I valued the asset at 50 crore rupees. तो बैंक को तो मैंने 50 crore rupees दे दिए, अब वो मेरी हेडेक है कितनी वैल्यू निकलेगी. Question is, how will I get that value? Or first, how do I get this money to recover or give this 50 crores? What these ARCs do is, ARC issue something called as a security receipt. They take money from investors and in return they give them a security receipt. Under this security receipt, what they say, whatever bad loan we have bought, we are going to recover the value from this bad loan, and whatever recovery I have is what the value of security receipt is. That means I issued a piece of paper to the investor and the value of this instrument was coming from the underlying bad loan. So I issued them a security receipt of 50 crores. If the value I recover is more than 50 crores, investor gets profit. If I recover less than 50 crores, the investor faces a loss. This process is called as securitization, where I have issued a security on the basis of bad loan. And what the ARC is doing? ARC is doing the asset reconstruction. तो हमने जो बैड लोन लिया बैंक से, उनको जो पैसे दिए वो पैसे हमने इनसे लिए थे और इनको कहा था कि 50 करोड़ की एसेट की वैल्यू आ सकती है, ज़्यादा आएगी प्रॉफिट, कम आए तो लॉस है. क्वेश्चन इज सिक्योरिटाइजेशन क्लियर? सिक्योरिटाइजेशन मीन्स कि अंडरलाइंग एसेट पे एक सिक्योरिटी इशू कर दी. Yes, this is what I'm coming to. अब इन्वेस्टर कह रहा है आपने 50 करोड़ का रिसीट तो दे दिया, कम निकले तो आपका क्या नुकसान? अब you get nothing, you are not facing any particular problem if it is less, because you will still get the fees for managing all of this. So what they said, the RBI passed a regulation, 15% पैसा इस रिसीप्ट का ARC को डालना है. That means they have skin in the game. Rest 85% पैसा आप इन्वेस्टर से ले सकते हो. इंश्योर करें ताकि वैल्यू बढ़े, नहीं तो कैसे इंश्योर करेंगे? 15% डालना पड़ेगा, ये मिनिमम यू हैव टू पुट दिस. नाउ द प्रॉब्लम वाज, व्हेन यू आर ट्राइंग टू रिकवर वैल्यू फ्रॉम द बैड लोन, रिकवरी इज पुअर. इंडिया में ना बैड लोन्स की एसेट की वैल्यू मिलती नहीं है ज्यादा. वी डोंट हैव अ थिक मार्केट फॉर प्लेयर्स. इफ रिकवरी इज पुअर, विल द इन्वेस्टर इन्वेस्ट? आई नो फॉर अ श्योर 15% भी इन्होंने डाले, निकाल नहीं सकते 50 भी, तो इन्वेस्टमेंट कम हो जाएगा. दिस इज वेयर गवर्नमेंट क्रिएटेड एन नेशनल एसेट रिकंस्ट्रक्शन कंपनी, where 51% ownership was taken by public sector banks and 49% was made private. And government said, जब ये खरीदेंगे bad loan, 15% पैसे देंगे, 85% की सिक्योरिटी रिसीट देंगे. दिस इज इन लाइन विद व्हाट द बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ ARC इज ऑल्सो. बट दिस सिक्योरिटी रिसीट इशूड बाय देम विल बी बैक्ड बाय गवर्नमेंट. तो अगर उन्होंने 50 करोड़ की सिक्योरिटी रिसीट इशू की है, इसका अगर 48 करोड़ रिकवरी हुआ, दिस 2 करोड़ विल बी गिवन बाय द गवर्नमेंट. Government will back the security receipt कि if the recovery is less, we are going to pay. 35,000 करोड़ तक का गवर्नमेंट ने बोला था हम पैसा भरेंगे. This is what is the concept of NARCL. This is the general idea of ARC जो सर फेजी ने इंट्रोड्यूस करी. Asset Reconstruction Companies. National Asset Reconstruction Company acquires NPA of public sector banks under 15 to 85 cash to security receipt payment structure. Government of India provides a guarantee on security receipts issued by it. Both the statements are correct. Doesn't explain it, but it is correct. कि NARCL ये करता फंक्शन. इसी को बैड बैंक बोला था. Scheduled capital adequacy framework, Basel. Minimum total capital to risk weighted asset ratio in India is 8%. CR, it's 9%, it's not 8%. Leverage ratio is computed as tier 1 capital divided by total exposure. Yes, this is tier 1 upon total, it's not risk weighted. Leverage ratio, 4 चीजें हैं बेसल में. First is capital adequacy ratio, where capital to risk weighted asset should be 9%. That's the first. Second is capital conservation buffer, which is to be maintained in CET1, 2.5% of risk weighted asset. Third, counter cyclical conservation buffer, which is again CET1, but this has to be maintained 0 to 2.5%. इसे operationalize नहीं किया है. Fourth, leverage ratio, which is capital tier 1 as a percentage of total asset. This is 3%. दो liquidity की है, one is LCR and the other is NSFR. ये दोनों 100% है. Counter cyclical capital conservation buffer is when you have good times, you maintain. Good times means when your capital or when your asset are going strong, बहुत loans दे रहे हो आप, तब ये maintain कर लो extra. RBI ने लिखा है but operationalize नहीं किया, 0 पे ही अभी है. This total is 11.5. इसी को capital बोलता है. Adequacy of risk weighted plus conservation. Conservation 8 के बाद लाए थे. All the 5 are applicable in India. Minimum is not 8, minimum is 9. Leverage ratio is computed by total exposure, yes. Capital conservation buffer of must be held in CET1. Domestically, systemically important banks maintain an additional capital surcharge. How will you solve this through a logic? ये तो facts हैं, तो पता होने चाहिए. This is basic. This. You know what DSIBs are? HDFC, ICICI, SBI. तो क्यों बनाए क्यों हैं ये? What? They have large consumers. So next, if they fail, the idea is domestically systemically important banks have a system level risk. If they fail, everyone fails. Right? That means they will have a concept of moral hazard. Why? Because they know if they fail, everybody goes down, government will not allow them to fail. They can take any amount of risk because they know government will not allow them to fail. If the government does not allow them to fail, that means these banks already got an advantage in the market, they can compile more risk and they will also get capital from the market at a less cost. क्योंकि उन्हें पता है कि गवर्नमेंट इन्हें बचाएगी, सबको पता है. एसबीआई को तो गवर्नमेंट कभी डूबने नहीं देगी, तो एसबीआई रिस्क भी लेगा ज़्यादा, एसबीआई पैसा भी सस्ता उठाएगा. सो टू कवर फॉर दिस रिस्क दे से बाकियों का जो कैपिटल एडिक्वेसी है, आपका कैपिटल एडिक्वेसी उससे ज़्यादा होगा, ताकि आप ये रिस्की बिहेवियर करो मत. फ्रॉम वेयर दिस कॉन्सेप्ट केम इन? Who gave this concept of domestic systemically important banks? This came from the idea of again Basel committee. उन्होंने बोला globally systemically important banks होने चाहिए. Interconnectedness, size of operations. There are 3-4 factors. Based on this, globally systemically important banks came up. G20 ने recognize किए हुए हैं. based on conditions given by this. Again, news. Jointly owned by central government, concerned state government and sponsor bank, regional rural bank. Created in 1976, Narsimham Working Group, RRB Act 1976. The one state, one RRB framework has been implemented for consolidation. They are barred from extending credit for any non-agriculture purpose under RRB Act 1976. What statements are correct? Third is incorrect. Why? RRB बनाए क्यों थे? Basics again. RRB capital will come from commercial banks, specifically PSBs. तो इनका रेशो बना दिया सेंटर, स्टेट एंड स्पॉन्सर. स्पॉन्सर हमेशा पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक थे. सेकंड, कोऑपरेटिव टाइप स्ट्रक्चर होना चाहिए, इसलिए एरिया रिस्ट्रिक्शन एग्जिस्ट, सेंटर गवर्नमेंट डिसाइड्स, एंड प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर लेंडिंग 75%. ये तीन फीचर्स थे. ये this 50, 15, 35 after amendment in 2015 can be changed. Center sponsor 51 से कम नहीं होना चाहिए इनकी functioning improve करने के लिए. This was RRB was something of 1970s. Now that we have payment and small finance bank, we don't need RRBs. इसलिए consolidation भी कर दिया है. They are not barred from extending for non-agriculture. 75% in fact priority sector lending. Urban cooperative banks in India are subject to dual regulation by RBI for banking related supervision and by state registrar of corporate societies for incorporation matters. This is true. Cooperatives are dual regulations. Banking Regulation Act brought all urban cooperative banks and multi-state cooperative banks under Banking Regulation Act in respect of banking related supervision. When the Punjab Maharashtra cooperative failed in 2018, the government amendment in 2020 gave more powers of RBI over urban cooperatives. This is a previous year question. They had asked what powers were given. Dual regulation still remains. It is state center in terms of multi-state, and RBI has powers. It's a basic question on urban cooperative banks. PACs, district central commercial district central cooperative and state cooperative banks. Three-tier rural cooperative structure forms the institutional backbone of short-term agriculture credit. Primary agriculture credit societies are members of district central cooperative banks, which are in turn members of the state cooperative bank in each state. What is the structure of these cooperatives? UPSC asked a question, कौन कितने loan देता है in 2021 or 22. Cooperative structure is urban cooperatives. These are also called as primary cooperatives, which is regulated by RBI plus state government. In rural areas, there are short-term credit, जिसका structure है PACs, district central, and state cooperative bank. What the RBI regulation says, इसको RBI regulate नहीं करता है. These two RBI regulates, but is given the supervisory power to NABARD. In the long term, which is again not regulated by RBI, this is Primary Cooperative Agriculture Rural Development Bank or Primary Cooperative Agriculture Land Development Bank. State Cooperative Agriculture Rural Development Bank और State Cooperative Agriculture Land Development Bank. ये long term credit देता है. ये तीनों का regulation RBI के पास नहीं है. State government plus supervision with NABARD. This is with RBI and state government. Cooperatives everywhere you'll have the state for its administration and management. So this is a three-tier cooperative. Yes, this is how the cooperative works. State cooperative help करता है district को, district help करता है PACs को, और state को help करता है in refinancing and also otherwise is NABARD. It's a three-tiered structure. Primary agriculture societies are members of district central cooperative banks, which are in turn members of state cooperatives. This is how it works. Both are correct. Membership is what explains the three-tier structure also. It's not type, it's tier. This explains one is correct. Small finance banks. A minimum of 75% of adjusted net bank credit must be deployed to priority sector lending. 25% of branches must be rural centers. FD up to 49. Required to list their equity shares with 3 years of their net worth crossing 500. How do you solve this question? Why did the RBI create SFBs? Increase the banking where? और इन्हीं बैंक्स ने आरआरबी और उनका बिजनेस खत्म कर दिया कॉपरेटिव्स का. What exactly is the function? SFBs. Unserved and underserved sections. Right. This strategy is financial inclusion through niche banking, differentiated banking. Universal banking क्या करता है? Universal banking spreads through bank branches and gives it to everyone everywhere and gives all types of service. This small finance bank is for unserved and underserved, which means we are going to target a section of the society and give all services. Second license was given payment bank, which is for some services. तो दो जगह डिफरेंशिएशन हुई. एक की डिफरेंशिएशन हुई सेक्शन पे, दूसरे की डिफरेंशिएशन हुई एक्टिविटी पे. This section, all services, was called as the small finance bank. That means underserved, unserved. Underserved, unserved का मतलब है कि small finance bank का priority sector lending ज़्यादा होगा. This is how I make them underserved and unserved. One differentiating between SFB and RRB is SFB के ऊपर area restriction नहीं है. Where they want to operate, it is open. There is only one, that is 25% of branches in unbanked rural centers. ये normally commercial banks के लिए भी है. This is for every bank. Minimum 75% must be deployed to priority sector lending. अब इसका पूरा differentiation ही priority sector lending पे है. How much this value would be? Is it 75%? Yes, it is not 75%, it is 60%. This statement is wrong. This fact should be known. Last year RBI had changed from 75 to 60. FDI up to 49% is permitted under the automatic route. This is an interesting statement. You know FDI of private banks. So would the private banks also apply to small finance banks? Why not? Small finance bank is just like a private bank only. फर्क क्या है? It's not government owned. It's privately owned. So if private other banks are allowed, why will it not be allowed? This is also allowed. There's no reason to mark it wrong. Required to list their equity shares within 3 years of their net worth. Now what you have is, you know, only 2 or only 3 are correct. Only 1 and all 4 are gone. You have to take a risk. Required to list their equity shares with 3 years of their net worth crossing 500. Let's read the statement and see, should it be done or should it not be done? I am saying if their net worth increases to 500 crore or more, I am asking them to list on the share market, right? Now, what happens with listing in the share market? The company becomes more transparent. It has to follow the governance norms of the market regulators. Plus, it now has to face the competition of the market in terms of its share price. Now, all of these features, will I give to a bank whose value is increasing? Or I will keep them opaque under private ownership only without listing? Should it be prudential to do it or not? If I know share market a benefit deta hai, तो will it be prudential? This makes sense, answer is correct. Only 3. These type of questions you should attempt, thinking implication kya hai. This is about small finance bank. With reference to payment banks, consider the following statements. Now, payment was 2 things. Payment banks are something which are differentiated on services where they can accept savings, and second, they will do payments. 3 building blocks होते हैं किसी बैंक पे. Third is credit. ये allowed नहीं है. नचिकेत मोर कमिटी सेड कि इंडिया में बहुत माइग्रेंट पॉपुलेशन है. माइग्रेंट पॉपुलेशन को घर पैसे वापस करने होते हैं. सो इफ दे हैव टू सेंड मनी बैक होम, गिव देम अ लो कॉस्ट टेक्नोलॉजी सेफ सॉल्यूशन. दिस इज टेक्नोलॉजी लो कॉस्ट सॉल्यूशन. Payment banks. They can accept demand deposits up to a maximum of 2 lakh rupees per individual customer. They must hold at least 75% of demand deposits in government securities. They are permitted to extend small ticket personal loans up to 50,000. From the definition also you know कि loans तो नहीं है. Loan credit card कुछ नहीं कर सकते. The question gone on elimination 1 and 2 is correct. Otherwise also, when they are allowed to take savings, earlier it was 1, it was increased to 2. This is correct. And there's 75% in balances. Whatever savings they are getting, What will they do of this savings? They can't give loans. So what will they do? The RBI said 75% in government security. This is what we say is somewhat similar to SLR. And 25% you can hold in other banks as your deposits, which you can then use. This is how you have to lock your money, because you can't give credit. Low cost operation hai, profit bhi less hai. Isliye they have been given an option. Successful operations after 5 years, they are allowed to convert into small finance bank. Conversion is also allowed. Answer is 1 and 2. Both SFB and payment banks, regulation based questions have been asked in previous years. Local area banks. You know what are local area banks? Kya hai? New local area banks have been licensed since 2014 to operate as scheduled commercial banks within a single state. Local area banks were a category introduced in 96 with a maximum operating area of 3 contiguous districts. No categories no longer being licensed. Are subject to same regulatory regime. Are a subcategory of RRB under regional rural banks. India ka banking structure, how it has evolved, this gives you an idea of local area banks. Initially in 1947, India had most of the banks which were private. 1955, I passed the SBI Act. 1960, the associates are created, or associates are nationalized. This is first nationalization. 1969, there is another nationalization of 14 banks. And 1980, there is a nationalization of 6 government banks. 3 या 4 छोटे-छोटे private banks ही बचे थे, बाकी सब privatized government हो गया है. This is why these 3 have regulation of government also. Why? Because they were done through an act of parliament. So some power is with the government, some power is with the RBI over its management. Banking functions completely under RBI. 1993 or before that, 1976, I create another category, that is your RRB. Public sector banks had a role to play. 1993, I give 10 licenses to private banks. 1996, Manmohan Singh government, finance minister says, local area banks bhi chahiye, so that this happens. 3 contiguous districts mein hum basic logo tak pahunch paye. That is, as PSBs are not able to do it, ये differential structure RRB और local area banks करेगा. एक ही इसका regulating feature अलग बनाया कि this will only be in a maximum operating area of 3 contiguous districts. That means the reach was made local. Reach was made local here also by area restrictions. Then what the government did? 2003-04, government gave 2 more private bank license. 2014, 2 more private, और एक government bank बनाया था. That was Bharatiya Mahila Bank, but then later merged with the private bank, or merged with SBI. 2016, small finance bank and payment banks. जब से ये बना है, तब से इन दोनों का काम खत्म हो गया है. RRB and LAB. This is all about financial inclusion. Were a category introduced in 96 with a maximum of 3 contiguous districts. The category is no longer being licensed. Why? Because we have now small finance and payment banks for financial inclusion. Now we have on-tap licensing. Since 2016, RBI said on-tap means जिसको भी apply करना है हमारे conditions meet करते हो apply करो. Earlier ये 3 जो थे 93, 2004 and 2014, the RBI came out with notification. Now it's on-tap. Only one condition. Anyone having assets more than 5,000 crore cannot bid for a bank. Large companies are not allowed to open banks in India. LAB is B. NBFC layer and its scale-based regulation. Again, a factual question on regulation here. Base layer, non-deposit taking NBFC with asset size below 1,000 crore rupees. So you have to know the 4 bases, how exactly we have made the 4 layers. Non-deposit taking with asset below 1,000 is base. Middle layer, all deposit taking irrespective of asset size. Upper layer, top 10 NBFCs identified by RBI using a fixed numerical cap. This is not true. It's not just top 10. It could be any number using a qualifying criteria. Top layer would be empty, reserved for any NBFC escalated for upper layer. Base layer, non-deposit. The middle layer, deposit taking. There is a criteria for upper layer, and top layer से यहाँ से आएंगे वो अभी empty है. This is what is the scale based regulation of NBFC done by RBI. I've given a lot of notes also on this in the previous classes. वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन, सॉल्व दिस। माइक्रो फाइनेंस पे तो पक्का क्वेश्चन आ सकता है, बहुत क्वेश्चन पूछते थे इस पे। Microfinance directions are applicable to NBFC MFIs. Consider the following statement. Household income limit for eligibility was raised to 3 lakh rupees. Pricing of such loan is governed by board approval policy of regulated entity. Regulated entity mean bank or NBFC itself. Total monthly loan repayment of a borrower household to all regulated entities cannot exceed 60% of the monthly household income. Basics about microfinance. How would you solve this question? First, eligibility criteria. Earlier it was different from urban and rural areas. Now it has been made uniform. First is correct. 3 lakh per annum. Second, pricing of such loans is governed by board approval policy. This is also correct. Third, total monthly loan repayment of borrower household to all regulated entities cannot exceed 60%. How? अब तो 60% कैसे आपने वो बनाया? 70 भी हो सकता है, 75 भी हो सकता है, 50 भी हो सकता है. दिस इज नॉट करेक्ट, इट्स 50. MFI के लोन की लिमिट नहीं है. MFI की एक यही कंडीशन है कि पर्सन की इनकम की 50% ज़्यादा उसकी EMI नहीं होनी चाहिए. It's 50%, not 60%. Again, if you don't know the fact here, do not attempt this question. Ideally, you should know the fact because banking regulated regulations are important. And all of these, जो payment, small finance, local area bank और ये, इसके अभी last month when we did this 50 topics important, I've given all of this information. ये तो मैंने क्लास में ही बताया था कि 3 लाख की लिमिट और 50% इनकम का रेगुलेशन है. Answer here is 1 and 2. UPI is the world's largest retail fast payment system by transaction volume. Solve this question. It operates on IMPS rails of NPCI, enabling round-the-clock real-time settlement. Merchant discount rate on its peer-to merchant transaction is borne by the customer under RBI pricing rules. Merchant discount rate, you know, UPSC का question ही था. When you pay through any payment service, the merchant is now which is handling that particular cost. Merchant पे जो impose होता है. So अगर peer-to merchant transaction है under UPI, who bears the burden? Merchant or customer? Is UPI transaction having any fees? Then who is bearing the cost? फिर ये तो simple logic है ना. अभी तो UPI को, this is the concern with UPI. How do we start charging? This is not. It operates on IMPS rail of the National Payment Corporation of India, enabling round talk. UPI is backed by IMPS. 2 is correct. IMPS is what allows it to do it quickly from bank. 2 explains 1, 3 not. Statement 2 and statement 3 are correct, but only one of them explains statement 1. ये statement गलत है, ये third सही नहीं है. Only one of statement 2. हाँ, ये this is correct. Which is not a payment product or a rail. Rail is payment infrastructure. RTGS, IMPS, Bharat Bill Payment Systems, National Automated Clearing House, NACH. इनमें से कौन सा NPCI नहीं ऑपरेट करता है? You can't get this wrong. UPSC asked this question last year. NACH. RTGS कौन ऑपरेट करता है? This should be known. RBI करता है RTGS. So which is not? IMPS, NEFT, RTGS is done by RBI. Sitter question. Solve this. ये fact है, ये भी थोड़ा पता होना चाहिए. With reference to prepaid payment instruments, what are prepaid payment instruments? You do Amazon gift card. That's a prepaid payment instrument. आपने 5,000 उसमें लोड किए, अब उसी वेबसाइट पे वो यूज हो सकता है. There can be open instruments, there can be closed instruments. Open is you can use anywhere. Closed instruments is कि उसी साइट पे यूज करना है. एक Sodexo coupons आते हैं. That is also prepaid payment instrument. You can use it anywhere. Closed, when you can only use it sometimes in certain places. For example, shopper stop का कूपन किसी ने दिया, तो उसने पैसे डाल के कूपन दिया. That's a prepaid payment instrument you can use on the shopper stop stores or website. Full KYC PPIs may be loaded up to a maximum balance of 2 lakh. Closed PPIs issued by retail merchants are regulated by RBI under payment settlement system. Small PPIs with minimum detail carry a per transaction loading limit of 10,000 per month. How will you solve? हाँ? Second ही गलत है. जो क्लोज्ड पीपीएस है, आरबीआई रेगुलेशंस ऑन पीपीएस है, क्लोज्ड पीपीएस को वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू रेगुलेट, वो क्योंकि उसी वेबसाइट पे होंगे, तो देयर इज नो चांस कि मनी कैन बी मूव्ड हियर एंड देयर, तो दिस इज एक्सक्लूडेड. 1 and 3 आर करेक्ट, 2 इज नॉट. डिफिकल्ट टू सॉल्व, ये पेमेंट सिस्टम्स पढ़ने पड़ेंगे, तो सारे पेमेंट सिस्टम्स में ये एक एक्सक्लूजन है, तभी क्वेश्चन बनाया है. क्लोज पीपीएस आर नॉट रेगुलेटेड, ओपन आर. Wholesale CBDC, this I've already told. Reserve Bank wholesale CBDC pilot is being used for settlement of secondary market transactions in government securities. Wholesale CBDC settles transaction directly between RBI and select financial institutions bypassing commercial bank intermediation in the settlement leg. Solve. I told you W of CBDC, उसी information पे ही है. Is the first correct? Bank to bank security transactions. Second. Wholesale CBDC settles transaction between RBI and select financial. It's very simple. In fact, bank to bank ही हो रहा है. It's just like कि physical cash की जगह CBDC यूज हो रहा है. तो transaction तो same के बीच में. It's not between RBI and bank. So 2 does not make sense. Answer is 1 is correct. Mutual funds. How is the mutual fund created? Solve. बताना थोड़ी है, मैं तो आंसर लिखा ही होता है प्रीलिम्स में. Mutual funds in India operate as trust established under Indian Trust Act. SEBI regulations require every mutual fund to operate through a 3-tier governance comprising sponsor, trustee, and asset management. Asset management of a mutual fund is precluded from acting as trustee of other mutual fund regulated by SEBI. Whenever you buy units, how do you buy units of what? Mutual fund. तो वो म्यूचुअल फंड का स्ट्रक्चर क्या है? एंड इफ यू रीड द स्टेटमेंट 2. स्टार्ट होगा एक स्पॉन्सर से, जो इसका प्रमोटर है, जो पैसे लगाएगा. स्पॉन्सर विल रजिस्टर द कंपनी एज अ ट्रस्ट अंडर दिस ट्रस्ट is what is the managed by a group of trustee, and these trustees will hire a asset manager. Asset manager इस ट्रस्ट को मैनेज करेगा, which will then distribute the mutual fund units. And what we are saying is, the asset management of one particular hired by one trustee cannot go to another mutual fund company and manage it, so that there is no conflict of interest. Promoter will register it as a trust. For example, 2 people came together registering a company. This company will be managed by trustee to have to create trust in this particular institution. They will hire a professional person who is going to now, asset management company is going to invest in shares and bonds depending on what they want. Every mutual fund to operate through a 3-tier governance comprising sponsor, trustee, and asset management company. Sponsor, trustee, and asset management. Mutual funds operate as trust. Asset management of a mutual fund is precluded from acting as a trustee of other mutual fund. अगर इसको हमने किसी और का ट्रस्टी बना दिया तो ऑटोमेटिकली प्रॉब्लम बन गई. तो दिस इज प्रोहिबिटेड, इज प्रिक्लूडेड. बोथ 2 and 3 explain 1. This is what the answer is. This is how the structuring of mutual funds happen. Sovereign green bonds issued by Government of India. The maiden issuance was made in fiscal year 2010-11. Proceeds are earmarked under sovereign green bond framework for eligible green investment categories. Reserve Bank conducts the auction on behalf of the government. How will you solve? Sovereign green bond, तो have you heard in news? Government raising money to invest in certain earmark projects. ये definition है इसकी. इसके earmark projects क्या है? वो भी एक list you should know, so that the question comes कि which are considered green and which are not considered green. Reserve Bank conducts auction on behalf of government. Who does it? कौन करेगा? चलो मानते अगर sovereign means government issued. So who will do it if the government is issuing a bond? Securities government की कोई भी, कौन मैनेज करता है? मानते हैं चलो गलत है, तो you give me a logic why wrong. I'm not saying it cannot be. तो वो ट्रेड होने से पहले इशू तो होगा, तो इशू कैसे होगा? अगर गवर्नमेंट रेगुलर भी बॉन्ड है, वो ट्रेड होता है एनएससी बीएससी पे, बट पहले इशू होता है तो क्या होता है? ई कुबेर प्लेटफॉर्म सेकेंडरी मार्केट में मिलता है वो NDS-OM पे, फिर वो ट्रेड हो सकता है BSE NSE पे। तो ये पहले कहाँ मिला आपको, इशू किसने किया? फिर what you are saying is trading. I am asking conducts the auction on behalf of the government issuing. So why this will be wrong? First, maiden issuance made in 2010-11. Now, can this statement be correct? Or why correct or not correct? अब green bond है, right? Green bond means के climate friendly projects. Climate consciousness आई कब है इंडिया में? When? It's recent. 11-12 क्यों? बाद में आई होगी, 15-16 के बाद में आई होगी, राइट? पेरिस एग्रीमेंट के बाद ही देयर इज सम मोर क्लाइमेट कॉन्शियसनेस, सो इट कैन नॉट बी 10-11. 20 to 23, post 20 is what we are talking about this. So using that logic also one does not make sense. It's 20 to 23. Answer is 2 and 3. Sovereign gold bond, ये तो बहुत न्यूज में था. Why was this in news? गोल्ड के प्राइसेस बढ़ गए तो क्या प्रॉब्लम हुई? गवर्नमेंट ने इशू क्या किया था? ये 15 में इशू किया था. व्हाट वाज द प्राइमरी थिंग? वो अभी वाली बात है. प्राइम मिनिस्टर इज सेइंग डोंट बाय गोल्ड. व्हाई? बिकॉज गोल्ड वुड रिक्वायर डॉलर्स, वी कैन इंपोर्ट गोल्ड. सो ही इज सेइंग बाय बॉन्ड, वी विल गिव यू द रिटर्न ऑफ गोल्ड. तो इंटरेस्ट भी मिलेगा प्लस द प्राइस चेंज ऑफ गोल्ड विल ऑल्सो गिव. Yes, right. This was done. Then why was it news this year? Idea समझ आ गया सबको? ये sovereign gold bond are denominated in the redemption price at maturity is linked to prevailing market price. तो जिस प्राइस पे आपको इशू किया था और आज के प्राइस का डिफरेंस हम देंगे, प्लस इंटरेस्ट भी देंगे. तो न्यूज में क्यों था ये? No one has read this in the budget. ये तो बहुत फेमस ही हुआ था, ये तो फेमस स्टोरी है इतनी. गवर्नमेंट ये प्रॉफिट देगी कहां से? अगर मानते हैं 2015 से इशू करने शुरू किए, 8 साल की मैच्योरिटी 5+3 पे दिए, तो पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे? अगर उस टाइम गोल्ड था 60,000 और आज गोल्ड हो गया 120, तो ये 60,000 का डिफरेंस गवर्नमेंट देगी कहाँ से? गवर्नमेंट शुड हैव बॉट इट. इफ यू आर नॉट आस्किंग द पीपल, गवर्नमेंट शुड हैव बैकिंग ऑफ गोल्ड, ताकि हमने जब 60 पे खरीदा बेच के 120 दे देंगे वापस. एसेट आपके पास होना चाहिए ना, तभी तो उसका अप्रिसिएशन दोगे. गवर्नमेंट ने गोल्ड ही नहीं खरीदा. अब जितने गोल्ड के पैसे देने थे वो एक्सेस हो गए, इशू तो बंद कर ही दिया है. नाउ गवर्नमेंट सेड इन द बजट कि इफ समवन सेल्स द सॉवरेन गोल्ड बॉन्ड बिफोर मैच्योरिटी, आई विल टेक कैपिटल गेन्स टैक्स ऑन इट. व्हेन दे इशूड इट, दे सेड देयर इज नो कैपिटल गेन्स टैक्स ऑन इट. अभी भी अगर कोई इशू मैच्योरिटी तक होल्ड करता है, देयर इज नो कैपिटल गेन्स टैक्स. बट अगर किसी ने पहले बेच दिया, कैपिटल गेन्स टैक्स है. दिस इज अ क्लासिक केस ऑफ रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव टैक्सेशन. Whenever I introduce taxation, it should be prospective. मैं पुराने इंस्ट्रूमेंट पे थोड़ी बोल सकता हूँ कि टैक्स लूंगा. This is why it was in news. This is correct. Are issued by RBI under public debt with the tenure of 15 years and no early exit option. That's wrong. 8-year tenure था, 5 year तक रखना है, 3 के बाद early exit option भी था. Capital gains arising on transfer before maturity are exempt from income tax for resident individuals. ये है, ये स्टेटमेंट थी जो न्यूज में आई है. Capital gains on transfer before maturity are exempt. No, before maturity they are taxable. ये चेंज हुआ बजट में. Subscription is restricted to scheduled commercial banks and registered investment funds. No, retail investors can also buy this. बजट में था ये sovereign gold bond. Masala bonds. They are rupee denominated bonds issued by Indian entities outside India. Correct? This is a famous instrument. The currency risk arising from rupee depreciation is borne by whom? Foreign investor. Subordinated long-term tenure masala bonds issued by Indian banks are eligible for tier 2 capital classification under Basel III. Tier 1 और tier 2 का difference क्या है? First 2 is clear. तो इधर 1-2 is correct और 1-3 ये तो mark करेंगे ही. Now, what exactly is tier 1 and tier 2 capital? You have some idea. Tier 1 is readily available, जो बैंक के पास रखा है. Tier 2 is it's difficult to calculate and difficult to liquidate. तो some type of bonds, loan loss provisions, hybrid instruments which are bond equity both are considered as tier 2. Now I'm saying subordinated bonds, subordinated debt. So it's more likely it will be tier 1 or tier 2 if it is classified. अगर मैं होल्ड कर रहा हूँ मसाला बॉन्ड, जैसे मैंने पैसे लिए किसी से, I have given money to someone and holding their masala bond. This is a bank. So will it be, it's subordinated debt. Will it be tier 1 or tier 2? More likelihood kya hai? It is tier 2. This statement is correct. Subordinated debt is part of tier 2 capital. 1, 2, 3, all are correct. You should take a chance in this. Subordinated debt is, one is your instrument backed by asset. The other is instrument which you have taken. This is secondary debt taken, issued, given to someone. तो जो जितने भी subordinated debt instrument हम classify कर रहे हैं debt instruments को. One the primary bonds which I know which will be paid back, जिनकी the credit rating is high, and I also know that the investor is going to give me the money, or the issuer is going to give me the money. That is tier 1 debt. There are certain debt which is subordinated where the chance of likelihood of coming back the money is less. तो subordinated जो long term मसाला bond है वो readily available नहीं है, तो इसलिए वो tier 2 में है. You don't have to know the technical meaning, just get a broader idea कि subordinated bond क्या हो सकता है अगर मैं bond को rate करूं. Yes, so when you know tier 1 and tier 2, less able to liquidate and less able to use. So this will be tier 2. You just have to go the broader meaning, you don't have to go in depth detail. ये intimidating question type है. Gift International Services Center, IFSC. The IFSC is a unified regulator for financial services of gift. This is true. This gift city is managed by IFSC, which is a unified regulator. Transactions may be denominated only in US dollar. It could be in any foreign currency, not necessarily US dollar. Income tax holiday under Section 80 is available to IFC units for 10 consecutive years selected from a block of 15 years. Why will someone start operations in IFSC, the financial service center? For example, a lot of people trade in international securities or international want to trade in Indian securities. वहाँ पे वो trading start क्यों होगी? कोई भी exchange क्यों start होगा? For example, National Stock Exchange has started its operation. Bombay Stock Exchange has started operations. Why would they do that? Whenever you are asking someone to relocate in a new entity, you will have to give them some incentives. What is their incentives? Most often than not, they will get tax breaks. और tax holiday ही उसको लेके आता है. SEZ की policy यही है. SEZ है ये भी financial. So policy is tax holiday. So you should apply this logic, because otherwise why do you think we will start the operations? We have additional cost. Why should we start something at a brand new place? We'll have to bring them by giving tax breaks. This is correct. This is 1 and 3 are correct. 2 is not. Treasury bills issued by Government of India. They are issued in 3 tenors of 91, 182 and 364 days. T-bills are securities which are for less than 1 year, 91, 182 and 364. They are issued at a discount to face value and redeemed at par. Yes, they are not coupon. There is zero coupon. Auctions are conducted by RBI through a multiple price method. Subscription is restricted to scheduled commercial banks, primary dealers and foreign portfolio investors. UPSC asked this statement. Are FPI allowed to invest in government securities or not? 2 साल पहले पूछा था. Tell what is the answer. First is correct. Second is correct. Third, how we determine the auction? Whenever the government is issuing a security, government securities, whether they are treasury bills or they are dated securities, how do I know at what price should I sell them? या कूपन रेट का भी ऑक्शन करना है, कैसे पता चलेगा? For this, the e-Kuber platform, the RBI conducts an auction. Who can participate in the auction? Primarily, this is done by primary dealers, which can now be banks also. Earlier, primary dealers were registered as standalone NBFCs. यही market makers हैं, यही price discover करते हैं. But in 2021, RBI allowed the retail direct scheme. Under retail direct scheme, they can also participate, that is retail investor. What is important here is retail investor do not bid for a price. Non-competitive bidding बोलते हैं इसको. ये सिर्फ ये बताएंगे कितनी quantity में करना है, ये नहीं बताएंगे क्या price है, because they don't have an idea about the pricing of this instrument. So, subscription is restricted to commercial banks, primary dealers and foreign portfolio investors. This is not. Retail are also allowed. Retail direct scheme यही है. So, 1, 2 and 3 are correct. This retail direct scheme had to be related here. UPSC has asked a question on this in 2022. In 21, the scheme was passed. Solve this. This is something which is an educated guess based on the information you have. Government securities form the largest segment of the Indian fixed income market by outstanding stock. Reserve Bank's retail direct platform allows individual investors to open gilt accounts and transact directly in primary auctions and secondary market. Indian sovereign bonds were included in JP Morgan Government Bond Index with phased weight inclusion beginning June 24. This was in news. This retail direct scheme and the JP Morgan Emerging Market Index. If I have these two, this will make the government securities the largest segment of Indian fixed market instruments. India already corporate bond is less, mostly dominated by government security market. So 2 and 3, explain 1. Broader reading of the news itself, RDS to pata hona chahiye. This was previous question also, retail direct scheme. This can come from these two. Again, SEBI's framework permits anchor investor allocation up to 60% of qualified institutional buyer portion of IPO. The lock-in obligation posed on anchor investor is the disciplinary mechanism that justifies their preferential allocation share at the price discovery stage. How does this happen? Read the statement carefully and then tell me how you can solve. What we are saying is, whenever the company conducts an IPO, it is releasing shares. When it is releasing shares, can it give to some qualified institutional buyer which is going to anchor its performance, that it is going to fix its price? We want to create confidence in the people that my share has some value, you should trust me. So can I ask some big buyers to buy my particular share? These are called as anchor investors. So whatever shares I can allocate to them, I can allocate a percentage so that my share gets anchored. ये सभी ने allow किया हुआ है. But if I issue it on first day and the anchor wants to exit the next day, कि अब तो आपका IPO करा दिया, अब हम निकलते हैं इससे, बेच के किसी और को. That means this whole anchor what I had created gives me no benefit. ये तो उसी दिन exit कर गया. This is why I will have to keep the anchor in a particular lock-in period कि आप 3 महीने से पहले कुछ नहीं बेच सकते. So when I have to create the confidence of the people in my company, I bring in certain institutional investors who can anchor my shares. This anchor को मैं allocation दूंगा और इनको बोलूँगा lock-in रखो so that more and more people buy. If I allow them to exit, it is more fooling the people than actually creating trust. These two regulations are correct. There is, I allocate to them, and second, there has to be a lock-in period to inculcate discipline to them. This is what is anchor investor. They constitute, first, read it and then tell me. ये conceptual है, इसे understanding से हो जाएगा. The rupee denominated bonds issued overseas, consider the following statements. They constitute foreign currency borrowing for Indian issuer for purpose of currency risk. Interest payable to non-resident bondholders has been exempt. They come within external commercial borrowing framework administered by RBI. What we are talking about is a particular company has issued rupee denominated bonds outside. That means they have taken rupees and issued a bond against it. Now read the statements. They constitute foreign currency borrowing for Indian issuer for purpose of currency risk. Is this statement right or wrong? Is it for the purpose of currency risk foreign currency borrowing? In fact, the opposite है. ये जिसने दिया है उसका risk है. This is incorrect. Interest payable to non-resident bondholders has been exempted from withholding tax under specific conditions. Tax is deducted at source. It's saying under specified conditions. Blanket exemptions नहीं है, specified conditions है. This is correct. They come within external commercial borrowing framework administered by RBI. Taken money from outside, no matter what the currency is, this is correct. Answer is 2 and 3. Basic idea से ये question solve हो सकता है. You don't need the exact information. Anchor investor was still difficult. This was not. Priority sector lending certificates. I explained different models of this. ये कैसे कैसे हो सकता है. Priority sector lending certificates are tradable instruments allowing banks to meet targets by purchasing them for overachieving targets. So 40% से ज़्यादा किसी ने किया, किसी ने कम किया, वो आपस में certificate trade कर लो. Important thing to understand here is underlying asset is not shifted. Loan transfer नहीं होता है. सिर्फ सर्टिफिकेट है कि हाँ हमने आपके बिहाफ पे किया है. Buy it for a price. It's bought for a market price. Under the Reserve Bank's co-lending model, banks and NBFCs are mandated to share loans in a fixed 80-20 ratio for all categories. On-lending model permits. If you remember the previous information I gave you, though 7 ways are there in which we can do priority sector lending. These are 2 of them. One is where bank and another bank together do a loan, or a bank or an NBFC together take a loan. This is what is called as co-lending model. The other is when bank gives it to NBFC and NBFC gives it to someone who comes under priority sector lending. This is what is called as on-lending model. So one is when you do it together, co-lending, and other is on-lending. They do it on your behalf. It will be counted as PSL in your things. So these 2 are also classified as priority sector loans. So instruments are this. Co-lending model में 80-20 ratio has been eliminated. It is a flexible ratio. आप दोनों decide करो कितना risk exposure होना चाहिए. On-lending model permits scheduled commercial to count loans to NBFCs for further specified. This is allowed. On-lending का मतलब यही है. Co-lending, on-lending both are allowed for priority sector lending. Question is, if the default happens, who bears the risk? Co-lending में. Co-lending में तो co-lending में तो you would know जितना उन्होंने शेयर किया है. On-lending में risk कौन लेगा? Bank gave it to NBFC, NBFC gave it to someone. What if the loan fails? NBFC or bank? This is what is called as first loan default guarantee, FLDG segment. On lending में RBI की regulation है, there is only a limited exposure which the NBFC will take on behalf of bank. तो जब the first loan default होगा, कितना exposure NBFC का और कितना bank का होगा? They have not fixed exact limits. They have some regulations on FLDG. 5% के आसपास बोला है कि इतना ही उनका exposure होना चाहिए, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं. That is your responsibility. Answer here is 2 and 3. It was all about modalities of PSL. Sorry, answer is 1 and 3. Solve. Fiscal policy. Last year fiscal policy ने पेपर आसान किया economics का. Recoveries of loans previously extended by governments to state governments and PSUs are classified as capital receipts. What are capital receipts? Again, write it. Write everything. Language is confusing and logic since economics has everything interconnected, the logic is confusing until unless you write, you have no clarity. Simple है. Budget क्या classification है? Budget classification is revenue and the other is capital. Capital पे earning is called as receipts and capital पे money spent is called as. When will the government have receipts? Difference of between revenue and capital. पैसे 2 ही तो जगह से मिल सकते हैं, या तो एसेट जाएगा माइनस या लाइबिलिटी होगी प्लस, राइट? व्हाट इफ एक्सपेंडिचर? एक्सपेंडिचर मींस एसेट प्लस लाइबिलिटी माइनस. ऑलवेज राइट दिस, देन ओनली सॉल्व इट, बिकॉज ये कंफ्यूजिंग होगा ही हमेशा. Recoveries of loans previously extended by government of states, state governments and PSUs are classified as capital receipts. If I made a recovery of the loan, is it a capital receipt? First, recovery of loan mean money has been received. Money received है, मेरा asset कम हो गया क्योंकि loan पे interest मिलता था. Recover means receipt. Since asset reduction, capital. If would have been received without asset reduction, it would be revenue. Correct. Second. Profit transferred by RBI. Remember surplus which I just explained is what? It is revenue. इसमें confusion क्या है? कुछ asset तो कुछ ऐसा वो reduction नहीं हुआ, ना liability ली, पैसे वापस थोड़ी करना है. External assistance received from a multilateral institution as a long-term loan is classified as a debt-creating capital receipt. Liability, external. Answer is 1 and 3. Always write this. You will not face a problem because the logic लग जाएगा asset liability है कि नहीं. Otherwise it will always be confusing within the exam. Outside the exam it would be an easy question. Probability fiscal policy की इस बार कम है. इस बार ज़्यादा प्रोबेबिलिटी मनी और एक्सटर्नल सेक्टर की है, इंक्लूडिंग फाइनेंशियल मार्केट। पिछले साल फिस्कल पॉलिसी बहुत पूछ लिया। 4 क्वेश्चन थे, फाइनेंस कमीशन, द प्राइमरी डेफिसिट एंड फिस्कल डेफिसिट 2 क्वेश्चंस एंड 1 वाज कैपिटल रिसीट क्वेश्चन। 4 क्वेश्चन ये थे, 3 से 4 क्वेश्चन फाइनेंशियल मार्केट के थे, स्टॉक और बॉन्ड के, बिजनेस रिपोर्ट एंड सस्टेनेबिलिटी। इनफैक्ट 5 थे फिस्कल पॉलिसी के, दैट इनकम ऑन रूरल लैंड, दैट वाज आल्सो दैट फिस्कल पॉलिसी। यस, ग्रॉस फिस्कल डेफिसिट इक्वल्स टोटल एक्सपेंडिचर माइनस सम ऑफ रेवेन्यू रिसीट्स एंड नॉन डेट क्रिएटिंग कैपिटल रिसीट्स। यही होता है फिस्कल डेफिसिट। Effective revenue deficit excludes revenue expenditure that results in creation of capital assets through grant in aid. True. Net fiscal deficit equals gross fiscal deficit plus interest payments on outstanding government debt. What is net fiscal deficit? वो प्राइमरी होती है, नेट होता है। Gross fiscal deficit is what? Is your borrowing? Borrowing is what? Capital expenditure plus revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt plus non debt capital receipt, यही है। अब इसमें से क्या एडजस्ट होगा कि नेट फिस्कल डेफिसिट आ जाए? यही गेम है। यस, दिस इज माइनस द नेट लेंडिंग। Net lending means loans given minus loans recovered. It's not interest payment. वो प्राइमरी है। नेट लेंडिंग, लोन्स गिवन एंड लोन्स रिकवर्ड। ये न्यूज़पेपर में बहुत आता है, ग्रॉस फिस्कल एंड नेट फिस्कल डेफिसिट। GST Council. GST Council decisions on rate changes and exemptions are taken by a majority of 3/4 of the weighted votes of members present in voting. 3/4. Under 279A, central government carries a weight of 1/3 of total votes. 1/3 central, 2/3 states. Chairperson of GST Council is Union Finance Minister. Is it clear? All 3 are correct. Reference to taxes levied in India. Customs, excise duty, goods and services, compensation sent on selected goods under GST regime. Which of them are classified as indirect taxes? Indirect are what? 2 चीजें होती हैं किसी भी टैक्स की। इंसिडेंस, जिसने भरा है, इम्पैक्ट, जिस पे हमने लगाया था। Incidence was paid, impact is whom we applied the tax. If these are separate entities, I applied it on the firm, firm shifted it to you, this is indirect. If incidence and impact is same, it's direct. All 4 are correct. All 4. Customs, you can shift. Excise can shift, GST can shift, cess can shift. All 4 can shift. Reference to cess and surcharge levied by Government of India, consider the following statements. They are not part of the divisible pool of central tax shared with the state government under 270. लिखा है 270 में, नहीं होगा। Cess is earmarked by statute for a specific purpose. यही डिफरेंस है कि purpose is defined already. Health and education cess at 4% is levied on income tax payable after computation of surcharge. Tax on tax, this is true. 4% after computation of surcharge. Can the cess be applied by state? Why not? 270 में लिखा है शेयर करना नहीं है स्टेट के साथ, जो सेस सेंटर ने लगाया है। क्या स्टेट के ऊपर है, स्टेट लगा सकता है सेस? Yes, on the taxation heads which are still with the state, they can apply a cess. बहुत states लगाते हैं। For example, हिमाचल गवर्नमेंट ने recently लिकर पे लगाया है। So the states can apply a cess for the taxation heads which are still with them. GST के ऊपर cess के लिए वो GST काउंसिल से पूछना है। Otherwise, the states are can do that. Cess surcharge दोनों कर सकते हैं on the taxation heads which they have. Taxation head जो states के पास power है, उसके ऊपर वो सब लगा सकता है। Which of the following statements regarding the abolition of angel tax? You heard of angel tax? What is that? In 2 साल न्यूज़ में था, 2 साल पहले। What is angel tax? Company has, this is started operations, right? So in the initial days, they get help from friends and family. जो कंसेशनल पैसा देते हैं कि जरूरी नहीं है कि एग्जैक्ट वैल्यू पे ले. दिस फ्रेंड्स एंड फैमिलीज हु आर हेल्पिंग द इन्वेस्टर इन हिज कंपनी इन द इनिशियल डेज आर कॉल्ड एज एंजल इन्वेस्टर्स. नाउ एंजल इन्वेस्टर पे गवर्नमेंट ने कहा ये मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग हो रही है यहाँ पे, बिकॉज व्हेन दे आर गिविंग द मनी टू यू, व्हाट वैल्यूएशन इज ऑफ द शेयर at which you are giving them the share and what is the actual market value. ये बहुत बड़ा gap है. So people are giving you and they are taking money giving you and valuation is something अभी list नहीं हुआ, तो आप उनको heavy valuation पे पैसा दे रहे हो जबकि market value है नहीं, तो उनका सारा पैसा black to white हो गया यहाँ पे. So government is saying the difference between share value and market value, this should be minimum. That means the government is going to estimate the fair value, and if the difference between the two is more, the government is going to collect a tax on it. आपने 10 रुपए का शेयर दिया, market would have a fair value of the share would be 2 rupees. So if the difference is 2, if I estimate fair value, the difference between the two, you will have to pay a tax on that. तो हमने मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग को एक तरह से लीगलाइज करके उस पर टैक्स कलेक्ट कर लिया. This was the angel investor tax, and this was applicable to angel investors which were foreigners, angel investors who were resident. दोनों पे applicable था. पहले सिर्फ foreigners से किया, फिर resident, पहले resident पे किया, foreigners पे भी किया. Government thought अगर ये tax लगा, अब fair value calculate करना subjective है, so a lot of people would not invest in the companies. So in order to enable FDI coming in the country as angel investment, government cancelled this tax. They introduced this first to capture this money laundering, to have tax on it. Then later they thought कि investment is prohibited, तो तब वो angel tax हटा दिया. Angel tax was levied on the difference between fair market value and issue price of unlisted, applicable only to FPI. This is what I was trying to explain. Fair market value and issued price. इसके gap पे ही tax था, क्योंकि हमें लगा कि यहाँ पे laundering हो रही है. Not only to FPI, it was also for resident. Both were applicable. It was abolished by repealing this of the Income Tax Act 1961. Yes, it has been removed. The abolition is restricted to investments in registered startups with levy continuing for other enlisted companies. No, सारे companies पे हट गया. Following the abolition, unlisted are exempt from reporting requirement under this. This is no, they are not exempt. They have to still report it. Tax नहीं है. This is what is the dynamics of angel tax. Security transaction tax. It's levied on transaction values of securities traded on recognized stock exchange. This is what is the meaning of STT. Tax on sale of options was raised in the Union Budget 24-25. यही वो जो discuss किया था future on options. Collections accrue entirely to central government. Is it given to states? वो later है, but is it going to the central government? It's a direct tax which is going to the central government. ये actually लगाया इसलिए था because people were not telling us the capital gains. तो पहले STT लगा दिया both share and buying and selling पे, ताकि फिर आगे capital gains का भी track हो सके. All three are correct. National monetization pipeline. What is this? न्यूज में था तो अब यही तो पता करना है. सॉल्व. इट envisages monetization of operating rights as well as ownership over brownfield assets. It's anchored by NITI Aayog in coordination with line ministries. Identified sectors include road, railway, power, transmission, telecom and natural gas pipeline. ये क्वेश्चन तो सॉल्व होने चाहिए, ये तो आसान चीजें हैं. Yes. So what happens here? Consider एक रेलवे या रोड का प्रोजेक्ट है. And this project the government has created, but the government is not able to operationalize it and the government is losing value. So this particular project will be given out on lease to a private player for certain years so that they can operationalize, create value and share it with the government. इसी को बोलते हैं monetization of assets. There is absolutely no control of ownership. How will this happen? This lease is nothing but public-private partnership. Whatever government gets the money from this, government said this money will be utilized for creating more infrastructure under National Infrastructure Pipeline. This is what is NMP. Niti Aayog, these projects, but no ownership. Answer is 2 and 3. GST compensation cess. It was levied on selected goods to compensate states for revenue loss arising from GST. We said 14% growth. If does not happen, we are going to pay you cess. This is true. The 5-year compensation period under GST Compensation to States Act 2017 lapsed in 2024. Collection has been extended beyond to service back-to-back loans extended to states during pandemic. You know what happened in cess? Idea was, what was the idea of cess? GST states ने तभी sign किया when they were given two things. Certain goods were outside GST, and second, they were promised for 5 years, if we don't give you on 2016 14% revenue growth, we are going to pay a cess to you. How will this cess come? This cess will be levied on certain goods, and this cess will be given as compensation to the states. Now this was to be given from 17 to 22. तो ये statement गलत है. 5-year compensation period 22 में खत्म हो गया था. 22 में what happened in 20? There was pandemic, and during the pandemic I had two issues. One, cess collection was low, and second, the compensation demand was high. Why? Because every state would not get 14% because सब economic activity बंद हो गई. Cess भी collect नहीं हुआ. For this, the center took loans from the market, and the loans were given to the states as compensation. पहले सेंटर ने बोला स्टेट को आप ही ले लो लोन, स्टेट्स ने मना किया, सेंटर ने पैसा लेके दिया. So now they said the cess has been extended for 5 more years so that we can recover the money for this loan. So the cess still continues. Compensation is not paid. Previous loan की cover हो रहा है अब. So what statement is collection has been extended beyond original 5 year, extended to states during the pandemic? This is true. This is not. This is 1 and 3. This is the compensation cess idea. Current account. कितने question है? Yes, 4 questions more. Current account of India's balance of payments. Consider the following statement. It records cross-border transactions in goods, services, primary income and secondary income. What is primary income? Primary income और secondary income क्या है? यही question है और कुछ पूछा नहीं है इसमें. What is included in current account? First, current account includes visibles. Visibles includes trade in goods. It includes invisibles में 3 चीजें आती हैं. One is trade in services. The second is income from investment. Countries ने जो एक दूसरे का investment किया है. Some people have invested in your country, you have invested in their country. What type of income does come from investment? That comes as rent, interest, profit and also compensation. So cross border जो investment हुई है उसका return, investment नहीं, investment का return. Third is transfer incomes. इसमें तो factor of production पे return है, इस पे without anything है. Remittances, gift, aid, donations, charities, all that. This, since it is income from investment, this is referred to as primary income. This is without asset, this is called as secondary income. तो current account में 4 ही चीजें हुई. Goods, services, primary income, secondary income. Earnings from software and information technology exports form a significant component. True. Remittances from Indian workers are recorded under secondary income. Is this clear? Primary or secondary? In newspaper बहुत refer करता है इसको primary और secondary. हिंदू में it's covered a lot. Which of the following best describes India's current exchange rate regime? A free floating exchange rate where the rupee value is determined by market with no reserve bank intervention. Fixed peg of Indian rupee to US dollar with a tolerance band of plus or minus 2%. Managed float where rupee value is market determined but with the RBI intervening to manage volatility at a specific level. This is with reference to the lending instruments of IMF. ये news में होता सारा कुछ. First, standby arrangement. Extended fund facility, सबसे famous facility है IMF की. Resilience and Sustainability Trust, ये बहुत न्यूज़ में था इस साल. Heavily indebted poor countries initiative. These two you should know. Traditional है. ये इस साल न्यूज़ में था. तो ये 3 तो is not a problem. The question is 4th. Heavily indebted poor countries initiative. ये IMF World Bank दोनों का. This is not IMF. Name itself is slightly confusing. You should solve these type of questions because these 3 should be known. 4th is not. Answer is 1, 2, 3. IMF World plus World Bank, poor countries के लिए loan facilities. IMF special drawing rights. They are international reserve asset created by IMF to supplement member countries' official reserves. This is the meaning. International, it's not a currency, not a claim on IMF. Their value is determined by a weighted basket of 5 currencies under IMF's quinquennial review framework. Indian rupee was included in HDR basket. This is wrong. Answer is 1 and 2. Reference to participatory notes in the capital market. What are participatory notes? FPI को किसी ने डॉलर दिए और they asked them to invest in Indian stock markets. How do I know what I've received? I will receive a P note which represents investment here. Participation in the Indian economy is represented through this derivative instrument. They are derivative instruments issued by registered FPIs to overseas investors with Indian securities at the underlying. यही definition है इसकी. SEBI requires know your customer norms and disclosure of underlying ultimate beneficial owners. P-note holdings as a share of total FPI have declined steadily following regulatory tightening. Government believed ये money laundering or conversion of money. So the government said, SEBI said, किसको issue किए हैं, whatever this fund is, I need the KYC of this also. And when they said KYC of this, the FPI P-notes dropped. क्योंकि हम directly कर लेंगे ना, फिर हम आपके through हो जाएंगे. The KYC norms and disclosure of underlying ultimate beneficiaries, which led to the reduction. These two are related. All three are correct. This is with respect to P notes. Which of the following best describes current status of US generalized system of preference program with respect to India? You heard of GSP? WTO का एक principle है जो ये बोलता है if you give benefits to one member, you will have to extend it to everyone. This is called as most favored nation. Most favored nation countries के बीच में भी होता है. So if India has got most favored nation from Germany, that means Germany अगर किसी और को benefit देगा वो India को ही मिलेगा. This is what is most favored nation. There are exceptions to this. One exception is if the countries have signed regional trade agreements, FTA या कुछ भी sign किया है, तो वो MFN जरूरी नहीं है दे सबको. Second exception is if a developed country wants to provide benefits to developing country without taking anything in between, that means there are unilateral benefits given from developed to developing in order to develop trade. These unilateral benefits which are given from developed to developing are general trade parlance called as generalized system of preference. Famous ये US के हैं, but देती और countries भी हैं. Till 2017 we used to get this. Trump cancelled this. Because you are not agreeing to Trump's demand, Trump cancelled this. Biden को बहुत lobby किया कि वापस चालू कर दो, नहीं चालू हुए. Meaning of generalized system of preference is this. India continues to be a GSP beneficiary country with duty-free access over 3,500 products lines until renewal. This continues to be is wrong. US terminated India's GSP status in 19 citing market access concerns. India has not regained GSP eligibility. Indian United States signs a reciprocal होता ही नहीं है GSP, हमेशा unilateral है. India is a beneficiary under GSP plus and a graduate from the university GSP program. That's not right. Meaning of GSP is something which you should know. Again, whatever the 66 question is, I am repeating the benefit here. That from all of these questions, you should not judge your level of understanding. All of these questions are just to impact your learning outcome, which is to increase your information base. अब ये नहीं है कि फिर GSP के बारे में सब पढ़ने लग जाओ. Or any other question which I've given. It's just increasing your band so that in the exam you're able to make an educated guess. ये understanding का test papers being a verdict of your understanding was over before 3 months before. सेक्शनल में हो गया वो. फुल लेंथ में अभ्यास में या ऐसे किसी पेपर में सिर्फ इंफॉर्मेशन गैदर करनी है. You don't have to test yourself. So that the more information you have, 2 things you will come to know. New things which you had no idea about. Second, what logics you made and why you made it. ये 2 चीज़ों का टेस्ट है. तो इन 66 odd questions में भी same apply करना था. We'll have one more session where I'll discuss Indian economy questions which we think are important. That will happen on Thursday. Thank you.
Every UPSC result proves one thing quietly. Success does not begin at the final stage. It begins much earlier, with the kind of foundation a student builds. The UPSC CSE 2025 result makes that visible again. 10 candidates in the top 100 prepared through the Vision IAS GS Foundation Classroom course, including AIR 5 Ishan Bhatnagar. That kind of result is not built on motivation alone. It is built on the right sequence, the right guidance, and the right correction. This is what the Vision IAS Delhi GS Foundation course is designed for. Concept-first classroom learning, so preparation is not scattered. Early answer writing and testing, so improvement starts on time. PT 365 and Mains 365, so current affairs become usable in the exam. And mentorship that keeps preparation aligned, focused and accountable. Because in UPSC, hard work is common. Structured preparation is what creates separation. If you are targeting UPSC 2027, start by building your base the right way. Vision IAS Delhi GS Foundation course. Upcoming classroom batches at Karol Bagh, 24th March at 5 p.m, 30th March at 8 a.m, and 7th April at 11 a.m. At GTP Nagar, 17th March at 8 a.m. and 25th March at 6 p.m. Register at our website or call us on the given numbers.
यूपीएससी 2027 का लक्ष्य जितना बड़ा है उसे पाने की योजना भी उतनी ही स्पष्ट और संगठित होनी चाहिए। विजन आईएएस लेकर आया है क्लासरूम फाउंडेशन कोर्स 2027 के 12 से 14 महीनों का एक ऐसा सुव्यवस्थित कार्यक्रम है जहां आपकी तैयारी एक अनुशासित और वैज्ञानिक ढांचे में आगे बढ़ती है। यहाँ क्लासरूम लर्निंग के साथ साथ आपको मिलता है लाइव और रिकॉर्डेड सेशंस का विकल्प, जिसे आप अपने व्यक्तिगत ऑनलाइन पोर्टल के माध्यम से कभी भी और कहीं भी एक्सेस कर सकते हैं। तैयारी के सफर को और भी प्रभावी बनाती है हमारी व्यक्तिगत क्लासरूम मेंटरिंग। हमारे एक्सपर्ट मेंटर्स नियमित मार्गदर्शन और स्मार्ट स्टडी मैनेजमेंट के जरिए आपकी तैयारी को एक सही दिशा और गति प्रदान करते हैं। शैक्षणिक दृष्टिकोण से देखें तो यह कोर्स मुख्य परीक्षा के सामान्य अध्ययन के चारों प्रश्न पत्रों, सीसेट और निबंध का व्यापक कवरेज सुनिश्चित करता है। विषयों की समसामयिक समझ विकसित करने के लिए मासिक करंट अफेयर्स मैगजीन और रिवीजन क्लासेस के साथ साथ PT 365 और मेंस 365 की विशेष कक्षाएं भी इस कार्यक्रम का अनिवार्य हिस्सा हैं, ताकि स्टैटिक और करंट अफेयर्स के बीच एक सटीक संतुलन बना रहे। तैयारी की गहराई मापने के लिए निरंतर अभ्यास अनिवार्य है, इसलिए डेली असाइनमेंट्स और साप्ताहिक मिनी टेस्ट के साथ साथ मासिक प्रीलिम्स और मेंस टेस्ट के माध्यम से आपकी प्रगति का निरंतर आकलन किया जाता है। इस कार्यक्रम की शक्ति है हमारी प्रतिष्ठित ऑल इंडिया टेस्ट सीरीज, जिसमें प्रीलिम्स के 35, मेंस के 30, सीसेट के 25 और निबंध के 5 टेस्ट का समावेश है। साथ ही संधान पोर्टल पर 25,000 से अधिक प्रश्नों का विशाल संग्रह आपके अभ्यास और विश्लेषण को और भी सुदृढ़ बनाता है। अब समय है अपनी मेहनत को एक मजबूत, संरचित और निरंतर प्रक्रिया में ढालने का। विजन आईएएस के साथ जुड़े और यूपीएससी 2027 की अपनी सफलता की राह को एक स्पष्ट दिशा दें।
UPSC Prelims is not the destination, it's the first crucial step. And clearing this step requires more than hard work. It demands the right strategy. Vision IAS All India GS Prelims Test Series 2027 with Sandhan is designed to give you that edge from the very beginning. With 35 structured tests, build your journey from fundamentals to full-length tests, ensuring clear, step-by-step progression. With Sandhan, personalized practice, you get more than 25,000 questions targeting your weak areas. Every test becomes a step toward measurable improvement. With smart analysis plus mentoring gain, get precise insights into your mistakes and refine your strategy with expert guidance. With quick revision material, QRM, focus on revising what truly matters exactly when you need it the most. Starting from 19th April, ensure you don't just attempt Prelims 2027, you prepare to clear it. To register, visit our website or call us on the given numbers. All India GS Mains Test Series and Mentoring Program 2027, not just a test series, a system designed to improve how you write. For Mains 2027, what matters is not how much you know, but how effectively you present it on paper. And that's exactly what this program builds. Write regularly, get evaluated with precision, understand your mistakes, improve with clear mentorship. So with every test, your answers become more structured, more relevant, more impactful. This is where preparation turns into performance. Start early, improve consistently. Be ready for Mains 2027. To know more, visit our website or call us on the given numbers. You're ready to face prelims head-on, because prelims is not just about knowledge, it's about performance under pressure. That's where Abhyas, the All India Prelims GS plus CSAT mock test comes in. Designed as a true exam simulation, Abhyas recreates the real UPSC. Prelims experience the same pattern, the same time constraints, and the same intensity. It places you in a national arena, competing with aspirants across India, backed by an all-India ranking that reveals your true standing. Attempted by 1 in 3 top 50 rankers, Abhyas has become a trusted benchmark for serious aspirants. With detailed post-test analysis, live discussions, and complete syllabus coverage in both English and Hindi, it ensures your preparation is not just extensive but exam-ready. 3 full-length offline simulations will be conducted across 100+ cities on 5th April, 19th April, and 10th May. From 9:30 am to 11:30 am for General Studies, that is Paper 1, and 2:30 pm to 4:30 pm for CSAT, that's Paper 2. Challenge your preparation, test your performance. For more information or register, visit our website or call us on the given numbers.